We are live. This is episode 2 of the Gold Star podcast. Yes, that means we made it past the pilot episode. We didn't get cancelled after one podcast, despite many people doubting us. We made it here for episode 2. I'm joined, of course, by Scott yet again. But you will notice that we are one host short today. Six Star has unfortunately been fired from the Gold Star podcast after one episode. Many of you who were here last week will have seen that we had a special guest for a brief portion of the podcast 2 weeks ago. We had Mystico very briefly join us. I got a big reaction from the live chat. Everyone was very happy to see CMLL's Big Star make his Wrestle Purist debut. However, I reviewed the tape after the podcast, and there's a brief moment right as Six Star returns to the podcast where you can see Six Star unmask. I thought we had the real Mystico with us live last time out on the Gold Star podcast. Unfortunately, Mystico's agent called me and notified about this and said, I don't want to, let you down here, but that was not my client. So unfortunately, we've had to let go of Six Star after just one episode. So this is now a two-man podcast. But nevertheless, we've got a big lineup here today with myself and Scott. We've got the G1 Climax. We're a little bit late, but we're going to hit all the reviews of the G1 Climax semis and finals, talk about what it means going forward towards Wrestle Kingdom, and a little bit earlier than that too, based on Zack Sabre Jr.'s decision. We've also got updates on the 5-star Grand Prix, take you through who's leading the blocks, who's heading to the finals, who definitely isn't heading to the finals, and a few more spicy takes on some of the booking going down there. We'll also be talking about Marigold's recent Korakuen Hall show, where we had Giulia's last official singles match. We had a big white belt title defense from Miku Aono, a great tag team outing as well, featuring Suri and Arisa Nakajima and a few others. And most importantly, we have the Marigold Dreamstar Grand Prix block announcements. There's a few other things we'll get to towards the end of the podcast, but I think we've got a pretty stacked lineup. Scott, how are you doing today for episode 2 of the Gold Star podcast?
Well, first off, I'm heartbroken. Six getting fired after the first show. It's that heartbreaking stuff. One, because I really thought we were talking to the real Mystico, and it hurts. It hurts a little bit to see Six gone. Obviously, if you are looking at the screen, it totally doesn't still say 6-star on the art behind us. But otherwise, I'm doing great. There's a lot of wrestling going on. Obviously, it's All-In weekend, so we are the pre-show to the All-In festivities, especially if you're going over in England. I know you are going to the big show. Maybe sir. Paul White will be there. I don't know. Hopefully he is, just to make it a big show. But I'm looking forward to this conversation. we got G1, like you said. We got 5-star. 5 stars down to the big. This is the final block weekend, and then next weekend's the finals, starring a world title match. And then we also have a lot of Marigold to talk about. So this is episode's right up my alley. I can't complain.
Yeah, it should be a great show. Like you said, a lot to get into. We're going to kick it off first with New Japan Pro Wrestling. We are a little late on the G1 Climax final review, so we're not going to go too deep into the playoffs. We're going to start with the 2 semi-final matches that we had, because I think those were two of the best matches of the whole tournament. And we're kicking off first with what I think perhaps was the best match of the entire tournament, and that was Yota Tsuji defeating David Finlay. I thought this match was and I am not the biggest fan of David Finlay. Yota Tsuji advancing here to the G1 Climax finals. Both men I thought were 2 of the highlights of the tournament. When you look at a guy like David Finlay, when we did our end of year Dumb Guy Live a few months ago, we had David Finlay down as one of our shitters of the year. One of the most highly coveted awards in all of pro wrestling, won by the likes of Tonga Loa and Jake Lee, amongst others. David Finlay was amongst those ranks.
That's nasty business.
It's not the most ideal of company to be in. Although Tonga Loa's stock's risen, he's got himself a nice gig. He ain't doing much with it, but he's there. But David Finlay, I think has been a real highlight of this tournament. I think when you look at some of the highlights of each shows, David Finlay's name crops up. And in this one, I thought his work on top specifically targeting Suji's back, I thought was really strong work. I think sometimes Finley's work on top can be a bit bland and boring, but I thought here it really worked. And it was an interesting one because they've had, I think they had a match in May that definitely didn't deliver. And obviously Suji as well is still trying to put it together from his big match, kind of singles standpoint. We've seen a bit more of that throughout this tournament, and obviously, of course, the final to come. But I think both men have leveled up a lot during this tournament. Suji got the job done. He also hit one of Uemura's finishes right before he got the Gene Blaster, which popped the Japanese commentary team quite a bit. And I think those two are going to be the guys that lead New Japan into the next era. And we'll hear a bit more on that in a moment. But Scott, what did you think of Yota Tsuji defeating David Finlay to advance to the G1 finals?
Yeah, I thought this match was obviously really good. I think with David Finlay, you've watched his stock go up dramatically in this tournament. He's gotten rid of being the Jay White clone per se, right? He's just trying to be Jay White. No, he's just back to being David Finlay.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that does him a lot of good because he makes his opponents look really good. That's something I noticed in this tournament. I feel like if you went into a match with David Finlay, you came out actually looking better because one, and I also like about his game now, he uses a lot of power that I didn't realize he had. Like, this guy's doing the Dominator, shout out Bobby Lashley, like nobody's business, and I'm going to shout out Bobby Lashley like 7 times on the show on accident.
Always appreciated.
I like to think that every wrestler just copies from Bobby Lashley. Shout out Chiaki, obviously.
More should. You should do this at the start of their entrance.
You're damn right they should. But this match, it accomplished what it needed to for Tsuji, which is give him a big win, obviously, over the global champion. And I think moving forward, there is a possibility that maybe that is Tsuji's destination. Maybe they want to put the global on him. Obviously, he's kind of doing this little global tour now. He's doing the CML Grand Prix tonight. He's facing Gran Guerrero for the CML World Title next week. So he's kind of, if there's someone global for New Japan, Tsuji's a little bit more global. But yeah, Finlay made him look like $1 million. The crowd loved it. I liked it a lot. And Tsuji is obviously the right guy to get to the finals once Giulia was out, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think, I definitely agree both guys' stocks have been elevated, but David Finlay, I think in particular, has changed a lot of minds during this. Well,
when you go from shitter of the year to, well, you did pretty good. I think that's
potential match of the tournament. I think in many people's opinions, he's done a decent job for himself. Hopefully he can keep it up. Assuming he's going to keep hold of that global title heading into Wrestle Kingdom, he's going to be in, presumably the co-main event of that show. So it's going to be another big spot for him. Hopefully he can deliver. And if it is Tsuji in that spot, as you just put out there, I think those guys can definitely deliver another great one. So one to keep an eye on for sure. Next up, we had the second semi-final for the G1 Climax 34 this year, and that was Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Shingo Takagi. I thought this match was a slight notch below the previous, but it was still a tremendous match. These guys have always got great chemistry, and two of the guys on the New Japan roster you can count on to deliver every single night. Shingo Takagi in particular, I think is I don't think I've ever seen him have a bad match. Although he had maybe one with Trent Seven. That was Trent Seven. You know what I mean? He's not a miracle worker.
He can't. I was gonna say he can't work that many miracles. That's that's asking for a little bit too much.
Yeah, that was his back can only carry so much weight. But he had it easy because Zack Sabre Jr. is an absolute pro too, and he's been on tremendous form throughout this G1 Climax. Like I say, a notch below the previous, but still, great work from both. Shingo always brings it, and Zack Sabre Jr.'s technical work is second to none. And Zack Sabre Jr. advances with the submission victory. Takes it to the final to meet Tsuji. What do you think of this one?
I think what benefited this match is the Sumo Hall crowd being so loud and into it. I think when you put New Japan in this venue, everything is lifted up. I remember the show when Mercedes defended against Azumi and Hazuki. I think that was the same show that Sonata beat Okada for the title way back in the day. Secure Genesis 2023. And I remember how lively that crowd was. And then they came back for last year's G1 final with Naito and Okada, and it was incredible. This year wasn't obviously that. I think Naito and Okada is a little different from Zack Sabre Jr., David Finlay, Yota Tsuji, and Shingo Takagi. But it still brought up the match for the action that was, like you said, probably lacking if we compare the two from this tournament. It was still ended up being a great match. They can't have a bad match, these two. That's the thing about them. They could wrestle in their sleep at this point, I think. And ultimately, in the end, I think Zach winning was the right choice. That's who I wanted to see in that final against Tsuji, because whether Tsuji was winning or losing, I thought Zach had the best shot to get him his best match. Which ultimately, I have my critiques with Tsuji. It's that, can he wrestle longer than 15 minutes? Can he wrestle a great match longer than that 15, 20 minutes? And I think, as we saw in the final, the answer is yes.
Yes, absolutely. We now head to the G1 Climax final, as you just mentioned. After those two semi-finals, it was Yota Tsuji and Zack Sabre Jr. meeting in that final. And I think heading into this one, despite allegedly being a British national, I was rooting for Zack Sabre Jr. Sorry, I was rooting for Yota Tsuji, I should say. Botched the bit there, but I was unfortunately rooting against Zack Sabre Jr. to bring it home, and I think part of it was the future of New Japan Pro Wrestling and wanting them to put the focus on the younger guys. And I thought, right now we've got an opportunity to make Yota Tsuji, send them to the main event of Wrestle Kingdom, send them to the main event of the Tokyo Dome. So unfortunately, I was rooting against Zack Sabre Jr. and Zack Sabre Jr. would go on to get the job done. But we found out a little bit after his victory that there's still hope for some of the other younger guys heading into Wrestle Kingdom. But on the match itself, when about
get it in big writing, you did not want Zack Sabre Jr. to bring it home. Big writing.
Unfortunately, this is true. I was not rooting. I was not rooting for Zack Sabre Jr. I was not singing "God Save the King" when the bell sounded. These were not the scenes in my household. I was waiting. I had fireworks ready to go off when Tsuji picked up the victory. I had to throw them out. It was a sad scene for the Gene Blast Nation. But on the match itself, they went about 30 so minutes. It kind of was a little bit slow to start, but once it picked up into sort of the last 15, it really built up into a nice match. Some of Tsuji's offense. I think I tweeted it on the Wrestle Purist account. This match was the best technical wrestler in the world versus some sort of like 2K video game character. That's what Tsuji's moveset. He pulls out some insane. He has he has the spear and the curb stomp and some insane dives to the outside. And my one issue is, and I think like you just mentioned, I kind of share a similar sentiment, is how far can he go in those big matches. I do think he lacks other match winning moves. I think, which is obviously an issue in those longer New Japan style main events. You need matches, you need moves where you can kind of convince the crowd that you're going to get the job done. And at the moment, he's kind of solely relying on that Gene Blaster. So I think he needs a bit more depth to his bag. But other than that, I definitely thought he delivered here at Sumo Hall in the G1 Climax final. But at the end of the day, it was all about Zack Sabre Jr. He got the submission victory. I fully believed Tsuji was going to win, so it came as a little bit of a shock to me. But Zack Sabre Jr. can do that. He unlike Tsuji, he has a number of ways that he can end the match through his various submissions and roll-ups and stuff like that. So despite the surprise, Zack Sabre Jr. did win the G1 Climax 34 for this year, which we all thought would mean he was heading to the Tokyo Dome, and he still may, but it's not perhaps through the route that we expected. Before we get to that, though, Scott, what were your thoughts on the G1 Climax 34 final?
Yeah, I think the reason this match worked as well as it did, especially with Tsuji going, over that maximum I like to set for him, is that you had Zach to work through the beginning of the match, right? Because the beginning of the match is as important as the end when it comes to 30 minutes for me. Do you make it interesting from start to finish? And I think Zach is very good at that every time it leads into one of Tsuji's, game-changing moves, it's like, okay, we got there, right? And I think when I was watching the end of this match, I legitimately just didn't know who was going to win. Like I I honestly was like 60-40 thinking they'd just go with Suji. Because like foreigners don't win the G1 a lot. It just doesn't happen. Like Zach's in the history books with Kenny Omega. That is not a long list, Ospreay never won it, Jay White never won it. The list goes on and on and on of guys that never won it despite being in the tournament. But Zack Sabre Jr. did win it. And I think it's very much a rewarding moment for him, right? He has stayed loyal to New Japan Pro Wrestling. He has not left like the Jay Whites, like the Ospreys, like the Okadas. He has stayed true because he wants to become IWGP World Champion. And I think this tournament was the ultimate. He can be the guy for New Japan moving forward. That's how I viewed it. That's how I saw it. And I think they see that as well because a certain someone is breaking down a little bit, and we might not want to put him in the main event of the Tokyo Dome, despite him being the biggest draw. Despite Naito being the biggest draw, it does feel like they're pressing the emergency button real quick because I think for me, obviously you want to pack Wrestle Kingdom, right? But there is a 2-night fiesta at Tokyo Dome this year, right? You have that, and then you have the Wrestle Dynasty show that features AEW, CMLL, Ring of Honor, and Stardom as well. So sorry, I gotta get that Ring of Honor joke in there every time because I'm like, what Ring of Honor wrestler is gonna be here? Like, you're gonna have to do a Ring of Honor champion, otherwise it'd be like, oh, that's an AEW wrestler, right? Yeah. Maybe they'll bring in like they should bring in Big Shotty. Shout out Big Shotty Lee Johnson.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That's a real Ring of Honor.
Athena's the one. Athena's the one everyone needs.
Yeah, Athena and Mark Briscoe's where I'm at. Personally.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do like that they got on there. But like Wrestle Dynasty is going to be huge because obviously it's the return of Okada to the Tokyo Dome. So I feel like maybe they are hoping that naturally the Wrestle Kingdom name just kind of pushes them over. They could put Naito in one match. They could put whoever in another. But I think Zach's going to be going into Wrestle Kingdom as the IWGP World Champion.
I tend to agree. So let's break it down. Where we heading now? Following the G1 Climax, of course. As is typically tradition, the G1 Climax winner heads to the main event of the Tokyo Dome, and we all thought that was the case when Zack Sabre Jr. got that submission victory at Sumo Hall. However, he grabbed the mic afterwards and decided that he can't wait for Tokyo Dome. He can't wait for Wrestle Kingdom. And he decided to call his shot against, presumably, Tetsuya Naito for King of Pro Wrestling, which is in October.
Or Great Okan.
It could be Great Okan. Another guy, to be fair, who had a pretty solid G1 Climax run.
Stock raised.
Stocks are going up. I'm not too high on his chances, but you can never rule it out. Never rule it out. You make a good point. So yes, Zack Sabre Jr. will be challenging for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at King of Pro Wrestling in October, which is conveniently just about a week and a little bit before Royal Quest, which was announced earlier in this show. So Zack Sabre Jr. could be returning to the United Kingdom as IWGP World Heavyweight Champion.
And Jamie will be there giving him the thumbs down, saying, Suji better, buddy.
Burning the English flag in the crowd. This is the lone, like... might get thrown out.
Gene blast over it.
Civil War's kicking off, and oh my days. I may potentially be there. We'll see what they do for the. I've never been dragged to a Royal Quest before, but for Zack Sabre Jr. as champion, as much as I didn't want him to win the G1, if he's heading in as champion to Royal Quest, that might win me over. To be fair, but yeah, so I think that was a big part of his decision. Obviously, the Royal Quest potential, but as you pointed out, Scott, another big part of it is the Tetsuya Naito simply. There's a big chance that he may not be able to make Wrestle Kingdom, or they may not be confident in his ability to deliver on the big stage. He kind of shown throughout the G1 Climax that he's not firing on all cylinders right now. His body ain't letting him work quite how he wants him to. He ain't as fast. He ain't as smooth as he used to be, and that's been the case for a while. But it's really kind of peaked. This summer in 2024, and the G1 Climax was kind of definitely the peak of that. So it looks like they may have made the decision to kind of put him out of his misery a little bit early. Maybe with a mind on that Wrestle Dynasty show too, for sure. two huge shows to promote. Naito's drawing power is definitely going to be useful there. But it does look like Zack Sabre Jr. will be heading in to Wrestle Kingdom as the IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. I'm a big fan of that decision. I think, Naito, as much as he would have been a huge draw, I think from a match quality standpoint, heading in with Zack as champion means that pretty much whoever he faces, you're going to get a good match out of Zack Sabre Jr. main event in the Tokyo Dome. I'm 100% confident there. Who his opponent ends up being is now the big question. This is a move that's made Wrestle Kingdom season a lot more interesting to follow, because usually after the G1 we have the big match kind of lined up, and then there's a bit of build to the other stuff and a few other things. But now it's still up in the air heading into the next few months. Seeing a lot of people throwing out that we could have the G1 final rematch. Yota Tsuji could be in the mix, although with his outings with David Finlay, there's potential that he could end up in the global title scene. And I think it could end up being a bit of a 50-50 on that case between himself and Yuya Uemura. I think New Japan are going to go with one of the young guys and pick them and send them to the main event at the Tokyo Dome. The other one will be in that match with Finlay. Scott, where do you kind of fall on the main event of the Tokyo Dome, where we stand, and Zack Sabre Jr.'s decision in general?
So I've had some debates in my head over this, because part of me, I left myself asking, was Yuya Uemura just supposed to win this tournament? And that's how we've gotten to this point. I don't think it's out of the question, at least until I know who's challenging at the Wrestle Kingdom. I'm keeping that in the conversation. There's also part of this conversation. What if Zack just loses?
I mean,
what if he doesn't get the Wrestle Kingdom main event and he loses?
That would be something for sure. That would make me question the entire.
Gato would be back on a specific list where we're watching.
Yeah,
him,
it wouldn't. It would be a good look for them for sure. Because as much as I didn't want Zack to win the tournament, the way it played out afterwards made me understand the decision. But if he doesn't win the title, then it's a complete. It's all gone up in shit, to be honest. If Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't win that title,
it's the only way this King of Pro Wrestling thing works is if he's winning the title. If he's not winning the title, it's going to be very funny, and I don't want to laugh, because it's just that would be like New Japan had this really strong G1. They've got momentum back, right? People are interested in now in the second half or the final few months of the year for them. Like you said, a period where people aren't usually that interested in New Japan as a whole. I think that kind of says a lot about what Zack's doing here. That brings me to who goes to Wrestle Kingdom. I'm still thinking Yuya Uemura, because I don't know if they want to run back the G1 final. I feel like it would be an interesting move for them to do, but it felt like this tournament was about getting Yuya Uemura to that level that I think a lot of people believed he could be one day. And I remember going into that tournament, I was like, this guy stinks. I want nothing to do with him. It took 3 matches. I was like, this is the guy. This is the guy. Meanwhile, Shota Umino, I was like, this guy, by the end of it, I was like, this guy stinks. Get out of here. I don't want to see you ever again. It's what a pivot this G1 was. So no, I don't think it's going to be Shota Umino, if anyone's wondering. That would be terrible. Yuya Uemura, though, I would just have a match between Yuya and Tsuji, because the funny thing about Yuya and Tsuji is, right, Yuya blew out his elbow or whatever in that match, and then still beat Tsuji. So it's they're gonna have to have a match, and maybe that's an addition to King of Pro Wrestling, right? You have a Wrestle Kingdom main event #1 contenders type thing. I think that's a possibility as well, and I'd love to see those two go again, because they were creating something, and obviously it all fell out of, and that's the rivalry, right? They have positioned that match as the rivalry for years to go.
For sure. I think it was very telling as well that Tsuji hit one of Uemura's signature. I can't remember the name of the move.
Deadbolt.
My brain.
Deadbolt. Yeah,
that's the one. The deadbolt. He hit the deadbolt right before the Gene Blaster. In that match against David Finlay, and I think that was a telling sign that there's more to come between those two. My one worry is that I had an inkling right before Uemura got injured, and because of the time that he got injured, we never got to see how it would have played out. it started to look like Gedo booking may have been creeping in terms of that he won his first couple and then he may have just fell out of contention. I hope that wasn't the case because they did a really great job in kind of building them up throughout the tournament in the early portion. And I think, everyone sees the potential there. He had to shake off a little bit of the TNA stink when he first came back. And he had a lot of
Joe Hendry stink, specifically.
The Joe Hendry stink is a potent one to try and shake off. But, I think
sorry to the NXT fans out there.
Yeah, we got, unfortunately, 2 non-believers on the screen right now.
I do not believe in Joe Hendry. I do believe in Yuya Uemura, though.
Yes. But yeah, I think he's finally coming around and looking like he's going to be a huge star for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And he always did back before his excursion, right?
Another European star that Jamie does not root for. Incredible. Incredible. Who's next? Who are you booing next? Are you gonna boo Ospreay against MJF next? Is that what's coming?
That's where I draw the line. that's where I draw the line.
That's the limit. You're gonna be in the crowd singing Ospreay. No MJF. Okay.
I ain't no Patriot, but you're not gonna catch me. You're gonna catch me rooting against Will Ospreay against MJF of all people. Absolutely not. No, I'll be fully behind Ospreay at Wembley Stadium for sure. But yeah, I think it's going to be very interesting to see where they go. And I think in the way they've done this now, New Japan have kind of flipped the year on its head from when you look at what happened last year in New Japan. When you looked at kind of the midway point in New Japan's 2023, a lot of people had them pegged as their promotion of the year heading into the G1. They had the really great Best of the Super Juniors and coming out of Wrestle Kingdom, and there was some really exciting stuff going on and some of the new guys coming into the mix. Then the G1 happened and it weren't great.
Yeah.
And then the aftermath of the G1 weren't great.
Yeah.
So, they didn't have the best of endings to 2023. Now we've headed into 2024 and they haven't had the best of starts, but the G1 Climax has definitely flipped the year on its head. And now with the way they've set it up, they have the potential to deliver a big kind of close in a few months to 2024 that's going to set up the Tokyo Dome in a way that they've not done before. So that's where we stand with New Japan Pro Wrestling. The status of the Wrestle Kingdom main event remains up in the air, and we'll see what else other developments we get in the next few weeks and months in terms of the other titles. Unless you have anything else to touch on in terms of New Japan Pro Wrestling, I think we can swiftly move on to World Wondering Stardom and the 5-star Grand Prix updates. Which
the other Bushiroad headache.
And we go straight to another Bushiroad. Unfortunately, I have to do this to you on this show, but it is advertised. We do have to cover Stardom as much as we're not maybe the highest on.
It's okay.
At the moment, there's been some great matches in the 5-star Grand Prix, but some of the decisions have not been ideal. Before we get to that, actually, we had a super chat that I want to pull up briefly. $1.99 from Andrew. Thank you very much for the super chat. Who do you all think will be the surprises for Braids? Now, I can only assume Braids is referring to Giulia.
That's what I...
A hilarious comment. Andrew, please do clarify if it isn't you. In the lab, you don't have to send another... You have to send more money. I mean, if you want to send more money, you can send more money. I ain't going to tell you no.
I read Braids and I instantly thought Giulia, to be fair. So.
It's gotta be Giulia. I'm assuming you're talking about the gauntlet coming up.
Yeah. My favorite part about the Giulia stuff last week was like when the press conference happened. She had the straight hair, and everyone's like, "WWE's always changing her." And I literally said to someone, "I was like, she's gonna have the braids on Monday. There's no way she's not gonna have the braids on Monday." And then she did. I was like, "There you go. Never fails. Giulia's one of a kind."
There are all these takes and think pieces.
WWE fans trying to
get
figure
away
out
with this in America.
When she did the what was the table spot in the match, we'll talk about it later. But I saw someone like, "Oh, she won't be able to do this again," and I was like, "Doesn't WWE like love tables?" I was like, "Aren't they a big fan of tables?"
The funniest one I saw, and we'll get to the actual question in a second, Andrew. The funniest one I saw was someone saying, "Oh, she won't be able to get those braids done in America." And it's like, she's in Japan. Where do you think she is? It's like, if she can get these braids done in Japan, she can get them done in Florida. Like, let's be real. But Julia's braids are back, and I can only assume
I hope she has a new haircut on her gauntlet match. I hope she should have a new haircut every few matches, actually.
Yeah, we need constant hair updates from Giulia. That's a big. So
Oh,
probably
she
one
should
of
go
the
back to
reasons.
GI Julia.
Oh, absolutely.
Actually,
The,
her
the,
best look.
the many eras of Julia have been fun to follow. But yes, Andrew has clarified the braids does refer to Julia as we first expected. We're gonna get into the all things Marigold a little bit later in the show, but since you paid your for the super chat, we will indulge surprises for the gauntlet. Obviously, we have Tsukasa Fujimoto potentially in the mix. I think that's a surprise, even though it's already kind of
I have a
sort of
great
been announced.
surprise.
It's
Not
never a
surprised.
guarantee because the politics of Ice Ribbon and Julia. She may have just said it. Like she's very volatile, Julia. She may just do things sometimes.
Put her on the spot type thing.
Which
like,
hey, be very interesting.
If I say it out loud, she's got to show up type thing.
Yeah, speak it into existence sort of thing. In terms of other surprises, I don't think, unfortunately, we're gonna get any Stardom names in the mix.
No, but Micah was in the crowd for it.
She was there. She was
popped me giant. I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah, there's of course plenty of Stardom names that would make sense to be in there if all things were well in terms of politics between the two sides. Obviously, you know, Micah and Natsupoi and the kind of Donna Del Mondo remnants in the promotion.
I feel bad for Suzu.
Yeah, Suzu would have been great there. Someone like Konami, who's obviously got a lot of history with Jude. There's a lot. I wouldn't place any bets on any Stardom names.
You want my crazy surprise? I got mine. Locked.
You got it locked. Should we save it for the big segment when we hit it, or do you want to tell the people now?
I want to tell the people now. You know, Andrew paid for the question. You know, so like I'm gonna give a response that's respectable.
Give him what he paid for. Absolutely.
I'm gonna go with Kyoko Kimura.
Ooh,
the mother of Hana Kimura. They could literally just go in there and hug, and I would be like, it would be enough, you know.
That would be the perfect moment. That would be the perfect moment. In fact, I'll throw out another name that I think maybe could be in the mix, and along kind of a similar sort of train of thought. I think Venny could be in the mix for this. We didn't get that match at the last Hana Kimura show because of Giulia's injury, and if we're going to have any sort of interaction between those two, this is the last chance for that. So I think Venny being in there for sure. That'd be cool. Do you think we get any more Ice Ribbon sort of names in the mix? I know there were interactions on Twitter with Mio Shirai, where she didn't sound keen on being in the Marigold ring.
No,
to be perfectly honest.
I like the idea that Mio Shirai, not a big fan. Io Shirai, massive fan.
Yeah.
When it comes to the Marigold ring. Other surprises. I mean, Ice Ribbon wise, I feel like any option is either signed or wants nothing to do with her. You know, it's like there's a big gap between like I would want to wrestle that match or I can't. Like my company will not let me wrestle that match. That's why I kind of came in with Kyoko Kimura here. Like Starlight Kid would obviously be great because of all their connections through the years in the 5-star, right? They had so many great memorable matches. Shuri probably is the one that hurts me the most. That can't be there. I think, you know, we've talked about Micah Poi, Suzu, but like Shuri and Giulia were connected at the hip for past 5 years, essentially, one way or the other. They have one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. When Giulia became world champion. I do not want Tam there, so thank you for asking.
Not on her current form.
that would be like a jump scare. If Tam showed up and her and Giulia were in the ring one more time, I'd be like, no.
To be fair, Giulia might beat her in 5 seconds on Tam's current form if she showed up in the gauntlet. I like this comment from Respira's very own Lewis. What about Himeka?
Oh,
retired, so I guess not contractually, you know.
Yeah, she showed up at the now Kakuta show. She was a ref for that, and then won her match. She won the match as ref. So, I think that's a great shout, Lewis.
That would be a cool surprise. Definitely feels like one that's possible. And if Himeka's going to come out of retirement again for one brief thing, I think a reunion with Giulia would definitely be the right time to do it. So I think that one is definitely on the table We can throw out a few more names when we get to it, but thank you very much, Andrew, for these super chats. Now, moving swiftly on, perhaps unfortunately, to to World Wondering Stardom's 5-star Grand Prix. No, there's a lot of great matches that we can touch on, but there's also a lot of questionable booking. Scott, I'm going to hand it over to you for the 5-star Grand Prix segment of today's show. Take it away. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. So I'll give everyone like an updated look at how things are going first, and then we'll kind of just dive into like some of our favorite matches so far. Because obviously last time we recorded, it was a preview, and now the tournament's almost over. So kind of gives some of our thoughts. But the tournament is as followed. Here your standings, starting with Blue Stars A. We have Sayori Ano sitting at the top with 7 points. Starlight Kid with 5, Shuri, Xena, Anna J, and Koguma all at 4, and then Miyu Amasaki at 2. So a lot of them eliminated. Anna J, Koguma, and Miyu Amasaki all out of the tournament. The top 4 still in the fight for it. And the Blue Stars B block, which has just been horrible. like some of the worst, one of the worst blocks I've ever watched in my life in a tournament. Like this has been a struggle. You have Saya Kamatani at 6, Risa Sarah at 6, Hana and Suzuki at 5, Saki Kashima at 4, Rana Yagami, and Tekla at 2. So those bottom 3 are eliminated, meaning Saya, Risa Sarah, Hana, and Suzu are all in the conversation as well. And the reason this block isn't good, obviously, like this, the hate. There's hate.
Yeah. There's a lot of hate.
But like I've been really sad watching Suzu. She hasn't been the Suzuki of even last year. I know some people weren't like too keen on her as much last year, like I was, but I still think she was really, really good last year and had a really great tournament. She just doesn't feel like that guy anymore, which is really sad. But she's coming off an injury, so I'll give her a little bit more time. And then you have Red Stars A with our first qualifier. Yes, there's only 2 block days left, and we only have 1 qualifier, but that's fine. Micah sits at 10 points, going 4-1 thus far. Has one more 5-0 this far. Oh, right, she had a loss. That's pretty crazy that they've just said, you know what, we're just gonna have you go undefeated. If she wins the tournament, I will be complaining. Just letting everyone know, because why did you take the title? Whatever. You get Natsupoi at 8, Hazuki at 6, Konami at 6, Manami at 5, Ruaka at 1, and Yumi Mizumori at 0. Hazuki and Natsupoi will be wrestling on Sunday for the final spot in the block, as expected. Winner moves on, so that's obviously very exciting. And then Red Stars B, the savior of the tournament, we have Azumi, Mayu Utani, and Tomoka Inaba all at 8 points apiece. Mei Sarah sitting there at 6, while Momo Watanabe sits at 4, Saida at 2, and your World of Stardom Championship #1 contender, Tam Nakano, sits at a whopping 0-5. Loser.
All three of us. Well, both of us too, and redacted 6-star before we fired 6-star. All 3 of us predicted Tam Nakano would win the 5-star Grand Prix pretty strongly. The leading favorite, and I think most of the people in the live chat would also agree that Tam Nakano is the favorite.
It made sense.
It was a logical thing. She coming back in. We obviously have a heel champion now. Maybe Tam Nakano's going to come back. She's obviously the most popular in the promotion. Maybe bring that red belt back.
Shame on us and believing in sense.
Yeah, we forgot that that Taro Okada guy is a funny fella. So he had other ideas, and Tam Nakano has not picked up a single victory in the 5-star Grand Prix. But there's more to come with Tam Nakano, as we're gonna get into, because on top of not winning a single match in the 5-star Grand Prix, which of course the reward for is a red belt title match, in December. Tam Nakano is being rewarded with a red belt title match. At
And
the
she
final.
said, "Shame on you for thinking she doesn't deserve it." I was like, "You lost to Saya Ida, Azumi, and Tomoka clean in the middle of the ring. Like losing to Mayu, yeah, obviously that's fine, but you're losing to everyone.
Yeah, putting everyone over.
You're tapping out clean, middle of the ring.
It's crazy. Not even no time limit draws or nothing to kind of take her out of if you don't want her to win it, that's fine. But there's other ways to do it. If you're gonna have her go into a red belt match, I'm just I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure if many people know what's going on, to be honest. I've seen people try and defend the decision, kind of pointing out the book, Natsuko kind of picked her because she's at rock bottom and whatever. But I don't think that makes either of them look good, to be honest. I think
Natsuko looks bad almost either way. It's like, oh, you beat a chump.
Yeah, she either beats a loser, or she loses to a loser, and then she becomes an even bigger loser. It's whereas if Tam, for Tam, it kind of sets her to rock bottom, which maybe they've got a plan in place for that if she loses.
She's gonna do the hangman path. She's gonna start drinking.
I would, I would kind of wonder if Tam doesn't win, what the direction is for the 5-star. And obviously, we'd find out on the same day, as this match is happening on the same day as the finals. We forgot to mention, which is a crazy decision. I would worry that maybe Micah is just going to get the red belt back, and I'm not sure about that decision. But it definitely seems
not
like a
this current, not Micah Hayashishita.
Micah Hayashishita.
Not Micah Hayashishita. Yeah, that one ain't. No. So Jamie, let's talk this out, because I've had some thoughts on this because it's been my life for the past 2 weeks. Okay, I think at this point, with Tam out, your final is going to be Micah versus Saya Kamatani, right?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have me jumping for joy personally, but it's fine. And the winner of the winner of the World of Stardom title match is going to tell you who's winning that match.
Sure.
Right before it.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think they fully thought it through.
Because, like, if Natsuko wins, Micah's definitely winning.
For sure.
Right? Or Babyface is definitely winning. We'll just assume Babyface, whoever it is.
Babyface X.
If Tam wins, yeah, I guess Micah could win in that scenario. But, like, they've already built up the Saya Kamatani match, like, for the past year. For people that forget, what was supposed to be the original Dream Queendom main event last year? If reports are to be believed, it was supposed to be Saya and Tam. Could they just take copy from someone's homework from a previous year, change it a little bit, make it a little less appealing, and say, "Here you go."
Would never copy the notes left on the desk by Roshi Ogawa. He's never done that. He definitely came up with the Hanan Cinderella win all on his own.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, you're absolutely right. He absolutely knew that her and Walker were all-time rivals. Needed to put that in the semifinals. Yeah, it's a weird time. And the funny thing is, like, I think Tam has told, like, the best she can, told a really good story in the tournament. Like, I think she's having good to great matches. I think the work has been really good because, like, we're not going too deep into the Tam Road bag, right? It's just like good wrestling, hard strikes, but you can't help but think, like, that entire Natsuko match is gonna be Tam Road.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the best comment I got was from one of my friends, Dylan. He said, I finally got on the Tam Road before this tournament. And they said roadblock as soon as the damn thing started. I had to stop. I just couldn't continue. I'm done. Like,
roadblock.
Roadblock, former WWE pay-per-view, by the way.
They need to bring that one back. Maybe we should have Stardom Roadblock. Maybe that's where we're going with it.
Stardom Roadblock.
But yeah, it's a very interesting one. I think the point you make about the red belt match spoiling the 5-star final is definitely a cause for concern. If it is, if it is the Shire and Micah match, There's obviously a few other possibilities that we could get to. Mayu Iwatani's been, obviously one of the MVPs throughout the 5-star Grand Prix, as she always is. Never any doubt in that, especially with the kind of competition in her block. She's still in the mix, and I think there's a chance that if Tam just wins the red belt, that could be where we head in terms of the red belt direction. Particularly with kind of the uncertainty on Mayu Iwatani's future. If she is kind of on the way out and heading to Marigold, I think putting over Tam Nakano in the main event of Dream Queendom would be a big way to kind of close out this kind of chapter of her career in terms of from a main event standpoint in Stardom. So I think that's definitely one direction, but I can't look past that potential Maika and Saya Kamatani match, and I think there's going to be big concerns with potential spoilers and that red belt thing. But it's going to be one to follow for sure. I think those finals, of course, come on the 31st of August. So about a week and a little bit now until we find out where it's all heading for Stardom in terms of the road to Dream Queendom. Scott, any standout matches for you? Of course, but the last time we spoke here, it was kind of a preview, so we've had all of the 5-star so far to kind of to get into. Any major highlights in terms of MVPs or perhaps particular matches that you want to kind of shine a bit of a light on whilst we close out this Stardom section of the podcast?
Yeah, of course. This probably won't shock many people, but Mayu Iwatani has my top 3 matches.
She's pretty good, isn't she?
Good. Like I said it last time I was on here. Like, obviously, everyone knows, if you know who I am, she is my favorite wrestler of all time. I think she's the greatest of all time. Yada yada yada. Mm-hmm. But like, she just goes out there and does the damn thing. It's like she doesn't make it hard for me to back up the idea that she is the best to ever do it, because she just goes out there and it feels like she just does it so easily. I think she has been far and away the MVP for me. Like, her match with Tam on the opening night was fantastic. I got a little emotional watching her and Momo, just like the potential that could be the last time they ever face each other. Obviously, we don't know that for sure, but we don't know if it is or isn't. And that has been like the constant for ever in Stardom. Like, oh, you need a great match? Let's just put Mayu and Momo out there. That's what they do. They had a great match with Korakuen Hall. I really loved her match with Azumi as well. I thought that was just absolutely fantastic. One of Azumi's best career performances. She hit a like double underhook destroyer as her new finish. That's absurd. It was terrifying to watch. I was like, there's no protection on that. Obviously, the destroyer is rather safe, all things considered, but I was like, you just never know. And then, beyond the Mayu Iwatani world, I really like Starlight Kid and Soriano from Korakuen as well. I thought that was great. I think that was like very fitting. I if I could pick who I wanted to win this tournament right now, I think I'd pick Starlight Kid. I think you want to make a new star, that's the one. She has the history with Hate and Oedo Tai, right? The transition to Hate from Oedo Tai started with getting rid of Starlight Kid. And I think that is an interesting story to go back to. Do I expect it? No. But it would be nice. I think she's had a good tournament as well.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of second everything that you just kind of laid out there in terms of Mayu Iwatani, of course, being one of the MVPs. But Starlight Kid, definitely, I think is someone I really want to see. More and more focus being put on her, and I think they've done a pretty good job with it so far in this 5-star Grand Prix. But I think with some of the departures that Stardom have had this year and potentially may have next year, as perhaps more contracts come up with Marigold kind of looming there. They need to kind of build more and more top main event stars, and obviously they've got the talent for it. We've known for a while that the roster's so deep in talent. They could elevate any one of these names, and I think most people wouldn't really complain too much. But you look at kind of what they've set up with Neo Genesis, and if you had to pick the 2 names who are kind of getting the most shine from there, it's Azumi and Starlight Kid are the ones that they're going to be most behind, I think, in trying to build those 2 up as major names. So absolutely, I think I really want to see Stardom get more and more behind Starlight Kid. More and more big title matches, and definitely, hopefully a future Red Belt champion in the next year or so. Who knows where they head following the 5-star. I also want to shout out Xena, as always. She's awesome. She's so good. I say it every single time I'm live and I'm talking about Xena. She was so close to kind of getting into her stride in her first run. So seeing her come back and kind of pick up exactly where she left off, and then kind of even excel on from there has been really great to see. One match in particular I'll shout out, which I don't think many people. I think if you were to circle matches ahead of the 5-star, I don't think too many people would have picked this one out. She got a really nice match out of Anna Jay.
Sure did.
She did the damn thing with Anna Jay.
As I said, best Anna Jay match I've ever seen.
I would have to agree. And I'm by no means an Anna Jay connoisseur. I've not been following all their matches, but I've seen a fair share of them in AEW. Perhaps more than I would have liked to have seen in AEW, but there was a lot of questions asked when she was kind of thrown into this. Some people were very happy because people have been clamoring for kind of AEW to send over one of their names, and hopefully they'd progress from an in-ring standpoint to maybe the more kind of Stardom, or kind of pure Joshi fan base would have been a little bit disappointed that they didn't have maybe a better in-ring worker sent over there. But I think they've kind of struck a nice balance in terms of what they've been able to get out of Anna Jay. And here, I think Xena definitely delivered the best of the bunch from her 5-star campaign. And she's great. She's so hard hitting, but she's also kind of shown throughout this tournament that she's got a high speed bag too. And some of the matches that she's got, she's so diverse. And I think if Stardom can keep her around for kind of as long as possible, she's a huge asset for them. Definitely someone I think they can build up as more and more of a star. But yeah, unless you have any kind of other closing thoughts on the 5-star Grand Prix, we can kind of touch on the upcoming matches and where we head in the next week to close out.
It's a lot. I've done a recording for every single day so far. I got to do one after this.
It's you're overloaded with 5-star.
I am. Red Star days are good. It's the Blue Star days where I'm like, do I really want to do this?
Those blue days, they got you down.
They do. They usually do.
They have you feeling blue. That's
Saya Kamatani versus Tekla specifically had me feeling blue. I was like, this ain't it. You have the new heel playing babyface. That's crazy.
Yeah, that was one I think a lot of people circled as maybe a potential stinker. So not too surprised that the hate on hate dynamics haven't exactly.
Overall, like I don't want to sound too negative because I think it's been a really strong tournament for the most part. I think Blue Stars A and Red Stars B have been great blocks. When you see the strides of someone like an Anna Jay, you see someone stand out like a Xena, who obviously Xena has Sayori and Shuri, I think, on the final nights. Oh, no, she already had the Sayori match. She has Shuri and Starlight Kid the final 2 nights, I believe. So, obviously, major matches for her to continue standing out. When you see things like that, it makes the tournament worth it, right? Like last year, we saw Mariah May do the same, right? She had that great match with Giulia, for example, that really opened people's eyes that kind of, weren't tuning in. If you were locked into Stardom, you knew Mariah May was already cooking. But I think like that's kind of how I look at the tournament. Red Stars B has been unbelievable. Like it makes up for everything else. And anything that's bad, they're always great. You put 7 great wrestlers in there, depending how you feel about Tam, and they go out there and deliver. I think Saida's also had a great tournament. I want to shout out her as well. I think she has had super strong tournament. She feels like the Goto of the 5-star. Makes you believe. She loses, but she makes you believe, and I think that's really, really cool. So these next 2 days should be really good. You have Shuri and Xena tomorrow, Starlight Kid and Miyu Amasaki, Koguma and Anna Jay. And then you have Saya Kamatani versus Sue Suzuki, which obviously a major one. And then you'll have Hanan versus Rana Yagami and Tekla versus Risa Sera. And then on the final day of block action, it's Maika versus Manami, Hazuki versus Natsupoi, which is obviously the qualifier, Ruaka versus Yuna Mizumori, what I would call a main event in any arena. You have Mayu Iwatani versus
Mexico.
Yeah, you're damn right. You have Mayu Iwatani versus Tomoka Inaba, Tam Nakano versus Mei Sara, and Saida versus Azumi. Sayori Ano versus Koguma, Shuri versus Miyamasaki, and Xena versus Starlight Kid. And then Red Stars B closed out with Suzuki versus Rana Yagami, Saya Kamatani versus Hanan, and Saki Kashima versus Tekla.
There's a few heavy hitters amongst that lineup. I think that the first match you actually said was the one that grabbed my attention immediately. The Shuri and Xena. That's one to circle. keep your eyes out for that one. There's two wrestlers you can always count on, especially the form Xena's in, as we just kind of touched on. That could be really something special, for sure. So yes, keep an eye out on the 5-Star Grand Prix. It's wrapping up within the next week and a little bit. And yeah, we'll keep you guys all updated on where we're heading and where we're heading, as we move towards Dream Queendom in December, with the Red Belt situation still a cause for concern. But regardless, that closes out the Stardom section of this podcast, which means it's now time to move on over to the Golden Gardens of Marigold, who had a big Korakuen Hall show this past weekend. A really strong Korakuen Hall show, a great crowd as well too. I think they did about 1,400 or so fans there, I believe, in Korakuen Hall, if I remember correctly. They also, they had the first white belt defense for Miku Ano taking on Koki in a really nice match. We had Giulia's last ever official singles match with Mai Sakurai, which had a lot of really great reviews. But I think obviously the highlight for a lot of people, and what we're going to start with first, is the tag match between Nanae Takahashi and Chika Goto, who took on Suri and Arisa Nakajima. Arisa Nakajima, who of course retired today, earlier today. This was obviously one of the last few stops on her retirement road, teaming up with Suri. Three of the four kind of pillars of Seedling, you would say, with Nanae Takahashi included. And you throw Chika Goto in there, who I think we can both agree has been an absolute highlight. Every single Marigold show, she looks better and better. And I'm putting her in there putting her in the mix with these three. Three of the hardest hitters and most consistent workers in Joshi wrestling. I think there was only ever going to be one outcome. That was going to be a fantastic match. Let's go over your thoughts on this tag match. Kind of kick us off for this.
This is one of my favorite tag matches of the year. It's everything I wanted it to be and then some. There is a long history between Nanae and Arisa Nakajima. Some good, some bad, some emotional. Their famous hair versus hair match is one of the great matches of the independence scene in Joshi over the past decade. They obviously, Nanae talked about it, leaving Seedling and, what that created and, having mixed feelings about it all, while Arisa Nakajima said pretty much shut up, let's just wrestle type thing, which is obviously amazing. And, they do the contract thing at the beginning, which was a memento to Seedling that once upon a time, she could have used that to have a title match with Arisa Nakajima anytime she wanted. Obviously, Arisa Nakajima is retiring. That's not happening, so she just ripped it up. And then it was on from there. You have one-handed Sari, the best wrestler in the world, with or without one hand, right? Because she has the broken wrist, going in there and acting like she does not have the broken wrist. You have Arisa Nakajima squaring off and facing and destroying Nanae anytime that those two are in there. And then, like you said, you have poor Gochika, who is just in there fighting for her life. And what a passionate fight that was. She had passion. Everyone should have passion. I saw someone call Nanae the Jericho of Joshi this week. And I was like, whoever, you need passion. That's all I'm saying. You just need passion. We all needed passion. This match had plenty of passion, had plenty of fight, had plenty of dramatics. The crowd was going crazy for it. Like I said, Arisa and Nanai were laying into one another. There was this great moment in the match where Sari and Arisa are just bullying poor Cochica back and forth. And Nanai runs in there to make the save. And I'm like, damn, that was emotional. And then Cochica gets up and goes in there to make the save. And then they got stomped out. It was tough scene for them. But Sari and Arisa getting the team one last time, especially after the rivalry they've created since Sari came back. If anyone's never seen their incredible title match from last year's Seedling Anniversary show, you should. Top tier match from 2023. And, just watching the way this ended and seeing Sari obviously, get the job done. That's what she does. Sari is undefeated in Marigold, if anyone didn't think so. She is a whopping 9-0-1, the one draw, which, it was probably some random tag preview match. I think when you watch an Arisa Nakajima, we're going to talk about it later a little bit, perhaps, but when you talk about Arisa Nakajima, this is someone that you're losing not only, I think, a legend of the scene and just a legend overall, but you're losing someone that's like from her time, right? She's from the times of Akana and Nanai, obviously, right? She's gonna go in there and she's gonna stiff the hell out of you and she's gonna make you fight back, right? Type stuff. And that is someone we're losing. They don't make wrestlers like Arisa Nakajima anymore. Sari's probably the youngest in that mindset, right? She has the old school mindset that I think sets her apart from so many others. And watching Arisa here and watching her fight the Nanais and team with Sari and fight someone young like Cochica, I was like, I am going to miss this so much. So I probably enjoyed this match as much, if not more, than everyone that watched it. But that's okay because I got to see everything I wanted to one last time. And it was just a great tag match that everyone should go out of their way to see.
Absolutely. I got everything I wanted out of this one. I think it was the perfect addition to Arisa Nakajima's retirement road. As you just touched on when you talk about the history there with Suri and getting to team with her one last time, and the dynamics of that being in a Marigold ring as well. With wait, hold on, Mystico. It's just Mystico's back. I'm not sure if this is the real Mystico, but Mystico's appeared on screen.
I don't know what happened there.
That's better. Mystico's left us. I'm gonna have to do some more investigating.
I didn't have a mask. I promise.
If we come back next week and it's just me on screen, then listen, you
fired everyone.
Impersonators are getting me cancelled out here. But anyway, seeing those dynamics of Arisa Nakajima and Nanai Takahashi being back in there, but this time in a Marigold ring, I thought was a really interesting thing to see. And then you throw Chiyogoto in there, who's obviously, like we said, been a standout, and mixing it up with those three, absolutely delivered and kind of rose to the occasion. She's got a bag of stiff strikes of her own, and she can take them and dish them back out. And I think she's only going to kind of grow more and more into that mold as she kind of develops. But this was perfect for what it needed to be. Kind of delivered on everything I wanted, and like I said, the perfect kind of a perfect pit stop for Arisa Nakajima before she kind of closed it out. And we're definitely gonna get into it a little bit later in the show for sure. Give Arisa Nakajima her flowers. Definitely one of the greatest of her generation and perhaps of all time for sure. So that was the big tag match on the show. We then moved into the first ever United National Championship title defense for Miku Aono. She defended the title against Kohi Amare, her first challenger. I think we're both kind of in agreement that out of the actress wrestlers, Kohi Amare is kind of the one who is yet to have like a major standout performance. Out of the six that kind of crossed over there. And this was obviously a big chance to kind of, deliver on that front. People were kind of, out of that Twin Towers tag team, like you said, people were touting Chiyogoto as more of the standout. I think this was their opportunity to prove some doubters wrong. How do you think she fared in this one? Of course, she did not capture the white belt title here, Miku Aono retention. But I think it was a pretty solid outing for Koki. What do you think?
Yeah, this was a legacy game for Koki and Mare. Like, I'm coming off a match where Go Chica went out there and, she put her heart on the line for the love of pro wrestling, right?
Mm-hmm.
I needed to see that from Koki and Mara in the biggest match of her career. Miku Ano, we know what Miku Ano is capable of, right? She's capable of a great star-studded top-tier match. This is her first defense. She's going to want to be remembered. And I'm watching Koki walk down to the ring, and I'm like, listen, I get it. People tell me all the time, you have the aura, you got the look, you got you got everything. But what matters is when that bell rings.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to that Twin Towers duo, you have been lapped. So what do you got? And she goes out there, and I thought she had the best performance of her Marigold run thus far. I think Miku Ano was very smart in the way they put this match together. It very much eased up from what I think we're used to seeing Miku Ano do with like Mirai, for example, right? Those matches were very, very physical. This match worked towards Koki's strengths, right? Hitting continuous big boots, ultimately hitting her finish, which kind of was a great selling point of the match, right? She hits her finish and Miku kicks out, and you see the look on her face of like, I don't got anything else in my bag. Like that was it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get nothing else. I'm gonna have to do it again. Like that type of beat. And I think that's a great story for her to tell because now she has to develop, right? She's not a finished product. And we all know that with Koki, and you felt that in the match in the good ways. And I think this was her cleanest performance as well, which is saying a lot, right? This Korakuen crowd was rocking, right? This Korakuen crowd was packed full to the brim. And I think Miku Ano winning and being the first, I believe, to pin Koki and Mare is very important because, they built Koki up well enough. So some of us, again, we knew she needed to show out here, which she did. But thankfully, Miku Ano rolls on, cue the amazing music, and we move forward. So I'm happy for Koki. She's still like probably at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of the 6 that have come over,
Sure.
but she is really closed that gap a bit with someone like a Chiaki, for example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this was kind of this was exactly what it needed to be for Koki. Both of us, like we said, had those doubts going in of whether she'd be able to, kind of rise to the occasion here. It was a big spot they put her in, the first kind of title defense for Miku Ano here at Korakuen Hall. And definitely, I think the experience of Miku Ano, the way she was able to lay the match out and work to the strengths of what Koki can do at this stage in her development, definitely they allow them to put together a match that play to what both of them are so good at. And yeah, I think now it's just a case of moving forward with Koki. Obviously, we're heading into Dreamstar Grand Prix season, which we'll touch on a little bit more in a moment. Can she kind of build on that? Can she deliver? Because again, like you said, despite this great performance, she's still going to be someone you kind of peg at kind of the lower end of the roster in terms of their in-ring work. And some of those blocks are pretty stacked, and she's going to be in there with some of the best. The best around the scene. So, will she be able to rise to the occasion again and again? I think a kind of round robin tournament at this stage in her development is kind of the perfect thing for her. And hopefully we'll see her pick up because, like you said, she's got the other, the other intangibles, the look and the star presence and all the other things that would make her a star if she can get that in ring to fully click.
You know who she reminds me of, and people might get mad at me for this, but she reminds me of Unagi Sayaka. Like Unagi always had she looks like a star. She's got the charisma. She's just got to find it in the ring. And it does help that they both utilize the big boot to their advantage. But I just think like that's the kind of comp I've reached. And I do think Koki's probably like putting it together the right way, right? It's a slow burn. But that's kind of because a lot of people love Koki. I've learned 6-star loves Koki. I've been yelled at. I've been yelled at multiple times, yet who's 6 stars Golden Grappler of the Week? Yeah, that's my point. Just saying. I just think like it's that kind of comp in that they have the stuff outside. It's just about the in ring now.
Mhm.
And I think if this tournament serves its purpose, it's going to make her a high quality wrestler by the end. She's got the right opponents to get her there, at least.
For sure, for sure. I like that Unagi Sayaka comparison. Another one I'd kind of throw out there as another kind of similar case, on the American side of things. I'd liken it a little bit to Jade Cargill in
Big
terms
pop.
of the, not fully there from an in-ring sense, but clearly someone that everyone who sees her knows that she's going to be a huge star if she can figure it out.
What a trio.
In the ring, the big three, the big, that archetype of wrestler, the Kokis, the Unagi Sayakas, the Jade Cargills of the world. That's the that's the category we're throwing Koki in at this stage in the game. It's an interesting one, but this was a good sign. Like we say, this was a good step in the right direction. And with the Dream Star coming up, I think she's got potential to really kind of come on leaps and bounds in the next few weeks. Before we get into the Dream Star Grand Prix, we have one more major match to talk about on this Corrigan Hall show, and that is the Giulia Countdown Final. And this is, of course, Giulia's final official, full-length singles match in Japan before she heads to America. Pretty much a lock. She's going to WWE and NXT imminently.
Pretty much a lock.
Pretty much a lock. You know what I mean?
So.
It's I've seen a few reports mention it. You know what I mean? It's
I think she's finally mentioning it. To be fair,
yeah, she's throwing it out there. She was in the crowd. Stand and deliver.
She got the handshake, like at WrestleMania. Yeah. We all knew. Yeah. Triple H just doesn't give those out.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lock. She's heading to WWE imminently. And this was her final singles out and final match at Corrigan Hall. And she chose Mai Sakurai as her last official opponent. Of course, a lot of people wanted to see Utami Hayashishita match, the big singles match that was kind of circled.
You're already waiting, buddy.
Yeah, that was a big singles match that was circled when those two made the jump to Marigold, because we never got it in Stardom, and that was always one that people really wanted, and it was kind of given to Rossi on a silver platter, and he didn't take it. I still think we're going to get it. I'll get into it a little bit later. I think we're going to get it down the line for sure. But Mai Sakurai, I think, was also another perfect choice if it wasn't going to be Utami. Obviously, the history of those two, dating back to their time in Stardom, Giulia brought Mai Sakurai over to Donna Del Mondo, and I think when she made the jump,
her career.
Absolutely, as I was about to get into it, when she made the jump from Cosmic Angels to Donna Del Mondo, right before that, she was right down the bottom end of that roster in terms of in ring work. Green
was in the conversation of Waka.
Yeah, yeah, as green as grass was poor Mai Sakurai. And under kind of Giulia's wing, she's developed into an increasingly solid worker. I think from a tag team's standpoint. She really shines there, but in this match particularly, this is one of her best singles outings that I've seen her have. Potentially her best singles match in her career.
This was good.
Yeah, I thought this was kind of everything that it needed to be from the standpoint of Giulia clearly wanted to make Mai Sakurai, into more of a star as she kind of closed out her own chapter in Japan, and I think that she delivered on that for sure. But yeah, I'll get back into it in a second. Scott, I'll let you take it away on this one. What were your thoughts on Giulia Mai Sakurai?
I think this was the best performance of Mai Sakurai's career. Like this was the Mai Sakurai match featuring Giulia. It wasn't the other way around in a match that was all about Giulia. I think that's kind of a sign of how great and how much they put into making Mai look good in this. Who's the one that threw the shoot headbutt? That was Mai Sakurai. It was her that did that. She was willing to go all out there with Giulia and do all the crazy things. And there was a lot of Giulia isms to Mai Sakurai's performance, for better or worse. I think she took a lot of the good things that Giulia does, truthfully. I know Giulia has become a interesting topic in the world of wrestling these days. Some fans don't think she's very good all of a sudden. Listen, she has her ups and downs, but that's a star, like Julia's a star, plain and simple. And the crowd was incredible. The crowd wanted Mai to win this match. I wanted Mai to win this match. I knew Mai wasn't winning this match. There's a signed contract that says she ain't losing. So that's kind of my take on that. But even in defeat, she looked like $1 million, right? She took the Northern Lights bomb. She kicked out of that. She took it. She took everything Giulia had to offer besides her super finish that won her the World of Stardom title, right? I would love if Mai Sakurai used the Glorious Driver as her finish moving forward. I think that would be a great change for her. Obviously, she does the elbow drop and the I forget what she calls the sit out like face buster, but she does that as well. But she'll never have a performance this good. Like this was top of the line, Korakuen sold out type performance that it's going to be hard to match. But I'll tell you what, my excitement for the Mai Sakurai Dream Star Grand Prix run has heightened. I'll tell you that. I'm excited.
Absolutely, she's going to be one to keep an eye on. I had our very own Ibu of Wrestle Purists kind of asking a few of us after this one. Obviously, he doesn't keep up with every single show, so he's not seen the kind of recent developments of Mai Sakurai. He was asking me kind of, is this kind of the level she's at now? Is this where she's developed? Because the last time he would have seen her, she would have been towards the lower end of Stardom's roster. And the general perceptions of the kind of wrestler Mai Sakurai was. She's come on leaps and bounds, and this was a moment where she was kind of made even in defeat here, and that was definitely Giulia's kind of aim and why. Even though I kind of wanted the Utami match, I think this was a perfect choice and one that's going to benefit Mai Sakurai and kind of Marigold as a whole because of it a lot, really. And I like that you pointed out the Mai Sakurai heading in now into the Dream Star Grand Prix. She's going to be one of the people that are going to be looking out for, because if she can continue to build on this, and like you say, if she can take those kind of those kind of pieces from Giulia's game and kind of adapt them into her own. Obviously, maybe not all of them, like we said, but a few Giulia-isms here and there.
I don't need the Hideki Suzuki inspiration. I'll tell you.
Yeah, not maybe not some of the huge style wrestling, but some of that physicality. I like a good headbutt here and there. It's
maybe not as much as Giulia was throwing them out. But
well, every now and again, when it calls for it. But that physicality that she was able to bring out here with Giulia, I think is something that hopefully she can kind of keep up with. And if she can, then she's going to be a real asset, because when she made the jump over from Stardom to Marigold, even though obviously there was a lot greater wrestlers in terms of from an in-ring standpoint, and in terms of their kind of accolades, you look at like the Giulias, Utamis, and the Mariahs of the world who've kind of won more throughout their career. Mai was a huge get because of what she brings outside of her in-ring, in-ring level, in terms of her star power and kind of just the character and how over she is. She brings a different element to the promotion, which makes her a valuable asset. If she can continue to build from that in-ring standpoint, again, quite similar to a Kohi, but maybe she's a little bit further ahead in that regard. She's going to be a big player for them moving forward. So it's really nice to see her get this moment.
She is, for basketball fans, she's like the sixth man type thing. Like, she may not be in the starting lineup, but she plays a really important role for this company. And now that Giulia is going out and we don't have an instant replacement, right? We got to wait for the free agents, right? We got to sign a big key free agent. So we got to plug in Mai Sakurai into the lineup, and you're going to do your best not to lose a beat here. And I think she can deliver in that role. Just based off this performance, I think you put her in there with some of the best, she's going to deliver. And that's really all I'm looking for Mai Sakurai. And like you said earlier, great tag wrestler these days. So she could plug a lot of necessary spots for this promotion moving forward. And this is about as good as a final Giulia Korakuen singles could be, truthfully. Right? The past year she's kind of been on and off. Right? She had that damn purple belt that would never leave our lives. Happy Mercedes has it. She can keep it. as long as she wants. I don't want that ever
Yeah.
back. I don't want that belt ever back in Japan unless she's
That's where it was meant
defending
to
it.
be, right? It was meant to be with Mercedes. We've corrected the call.
Exactly.
We can
Exactly.
leave that where it is.
We had to deal with that damn thing forever, and it doesn't have the best track record. It's out of 2 for 3 for WWE signings. Just saying. So I do find that funny that like those two are going to the company at the same time, but whatever. I think like if you watch this match and if you've ever had any interest or you've ever liked Giulia, this was the right way for her to go out. Like obviously she'll have the gauntlet this weekend, which will be a lot of fun, but this was her last serious big match. And you could see the emotion in her face as she was leaving. It's like, okay, this is my last Corkin match, right? And I think that's a very big moment for her, and I wish her the best in WWE. I think, some people, a lot of people like to debate, will she work? I don't see how she doesn't, at least in NXT.
Yeah.
At least in NXT. She's a
Yeah,
star,
for sure.
right? She's got that natural charisma that, she's not Io. I'll tell you that. Like, Io's one of the most naturally gifted pro wrestlers I've ever seen in my life that has unbelievable charisma. But, she's not current Kyrie either. So it's like,
Oh, sure.
she'll be okay. She'll be okay. And she's new, right? There's a lot of excitement behind her. So I wish her the best.
For sure. I mean, there's obviously, like you said, people are going to have concerns on, particularly the in-ring. How is she going to adapt? It seems like she's definitely going to have to adapt, at least in some form. I've seen a few people say that, she's going to be, the same wrestler, or she's going to change entirely and have to kind of rework it. There's going to be, I think there's going to be a middle ground at some point somewhere. I don't think she's going to be throwing out quite as many headbutts.
She might kill a athlete if she does that.
I don't know.
Her versus gotta think of one. Kalani Jordan. She just like headbutts her. Poor girl. Like I feel so bad for that girl. Like, because obviously, like I know NXT, they like rehearse their matches and whatever, and then Julie just comes out of nowhere, headbutt, and they're just like, what? that'd be something.
That side of things is kind of the intriguing side for me. But the one thing that's a guarantee is that she's going to work. Like, no matter how long it takes for it to kind of fit in and get into the groove of the in-ring. The other intangibles means that it's a guaranteed success. And obviously they've been after her for a little while. And they obviously have big plans for her moving forward for sure. Because they've allowed her to do this with Marigold, right? This kind of relationship that was struck up. A huge part of it has been, the usage of Giulia and allowing her to close out this chapter of her career. In the way that she wanted to. So yeah, I have no doubts that she's gonna do big things in WWE. She'll probably be in a big WrestleMania match, give it a year or so. May even be a WrestleMania main event if the right circumstances roll around. I think she's got the potential in terms of star power that she could get there for sure. But that closes it out for Giulia's Japan chapter. Outside of this upcoming weekend, I believe it's this Sunday, the 25th. We have Giulia's final, technically, not her official final singles match, but she has one more final stop along the road, and it's a gauntlet match, a 1 minute singles gauntlet, but between anyone on the roster and outside that wishes to face Giulia one final time, and we imagine the likes of the Utamis and the Yuzukis of the world will definitely be in there. I think everyone on that roster will mix it up with Giulia at some point. And of course, we had Andrew's super chat a little bit earlier in the show about potential surprises. We have one that looks like a lock. I wouldn't guarantee it because of the politics involved, but Giulia called out Ice Ribbon Tsukasa Fujimoto to be in this gauntlet, which is very intriguing. If you know the history behind Giulia and her exit from Ice Ribbon and the kind of the sentiments that have remained amongst the core Ice Ribbon wrestlers since then.
Not the biggest fan of her.
Yeah, understandably so. It was a big move at the time, but Tsukasa Fujimoto is pretty much the ace, the undisputed face of Ice Ribbon. So for her to be in this, if she is, it's going to be something really special. She's, as you said, she's also one of the best wrestlers of her generation. So just on that front, it's very exciting to see that we're going to potentially get that too. Scott, I'll let you take it away on the Giulia Gauntlet front, and particularly Fujimoto.
Yeah, I mean, give me the 1 minute of Tsukasa fighting her. I think it'll be a very emotional 1 minute, especially for Giulia. Just because of the way, she asked. She was like, okay, listen, I know things have happened the way they have, but I'd like just 1 minute, even if we just talk it out in that 1 minute, right? It's like, wrestling is an interesting industry, obviously. A lot of things have happened for Giulia to end up where she is today. But it'll be a very cool moment, I think, when they share the ring for the first time in a long time after everything that's happened. As Giulia says so long, and Tsukasa's saying so long this weekend too. She's going back on hiatus, so we're losing the scene's losing a lot right now. Obviously Risa Nakajima retired, Tsukasa's going to take a break, and Giulia's heading out, so that'll be a cool moment for those two, I think. But I did get another potential surprise if you're interested.
We're always interested in potential surprises.
Yeah, so you asked about like more ice ribbon. I was like, okay, let me get into my bag here. Let me think. Let me look at a certain schedule. Risa Sera is not competing on the final night of the 5-star Grand Prix blocks, and she's likely to be eliminated by that point. So why not Risa Sera? Why not we send her over? Again, I will feel very bad for Suzuki if that happens, but I felt Risa Sera makes a lot of sense. Obviously, they had the purple belt title match last year. What is the name of that belt? New Japan Women's Strong title. There we go.
New Japan Strong, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, I can't remember what the name of that thing is, but yeah, I think that's a possibility. I think Risa Sera popping up for a minute wouldn't be too much of a shock. I feel like that'd be one Giulia was asking for because she'd just be coming off the 5-star too. She'd be like, what about one day after her last starter match, she's in here? And there's wrestlers that work. Well, not both, I guess. I guess Sari's just a different beast, but
Sari can work wherever.
Yeah,
wherever she wants.
Sari books her own shows with them, so I guess that's different. But yeah, I think I wouldn't even be shocked if Sari popped in there. I don't know what she's up to. But it's in Tokyo, so
yeah. I think is she on the card for that day?
No,
I know that she's not on the card. Okay,
no,
so she's not guaranteed to be around, but I would definitely not rule it out considering their.
I think she's taking off everything until her wrist is right. Well, she did wrestle today in Seedling, but I think for Margot, why she's taking off until her wrist is good. That's why she missed the first weekend of the GP. And then she's wrestling every weekend from there. So I think that's a possibility as well. Trying to stay ready for the Sari main event. Obviously, that's very important to her. But I wouldn't be shocked if they gave her 1 minute. That kind of became Giulia's last big rival. Obviously, she's the Margot World Champion as well. So while it's a surprise because she's not booked at all for that show, and I think it'd be a kind of a cool moment for those two, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. To kind of run us through some of the surprises, if you weren't here early when Andrew sent a super chat, we had some other big predictions perhaps for the Giulia finale gauntlet. We threw out names like Venny, who of course didn't get the match with Giulia at the Hana Kimura show because of Giulia's injury. Along a similar path, we also have Kyoko Kimura, which could just be a really awesome moment. In there for both. Obviously, Giulia's kind of connection to Hana Kimura. Of course, she was one of Hannah's final big opponent there in one of her big matches, and she's never really had that chance because of schedule and then injuries to kind of get that moment on one of the Hana shows. So to have that moment with Kyoko Kimura, I think would be really awesome. Himeka coming out of retirement was a free agent.
That was a Lewis shout. That was a good
Lewis shout. Shout out to Lewis for throwing out Himeka's name into the mix. I think that's definitely a possibility. You look at it would have been nice to see some of the DDM names in there, but that Stardom Marigold relationship ain't up and running just quite yet. Whether we'll ever get there, I don't know. But Himeka could be on could be on for this Sunday. And outside that, I think you're going to see everyone on that Marigold roster for sure. And any other potential surprises along with, we expect Tsukasa Fujimoto. I think it's going to be definitely really enjoyable. Obviously, it's a Joshi and kind of Hero altogether tradition. So I think it's going to be a fun one to watch, and we'll see what other surprises we get there. A few more things to close out the Marigold section of this show. Firstly, I forgot to mention, but we did have a debut on the Korakuen Hall show. Yuki Minami debuted in the opener against Minami Komomo. Minami Komomo lost again. She lost again. I thought there was a solid chance she was going to pick up the big win here. Obviously, she didn't pick up the win against Rhea Seto at Marigold's first pay-per-view, and I think people thought maybe she'd get it there. And the fact that she didn't get it there, I thought, okay, this is a lock now. She's gonna pick up the win. She get the she was Marigold's first rookie to debut. She's gonna get the ball rolling here with a win over Yuki Minami. That was not what happened at all.
No,
Yuki Minami picked up the win. What are your thoughts on Yuki Minami's debut? And kind of in general, what are your thoughts on Marigold's current crop of rookies?
I look at these two and I kind of think, well, the roster needs some bottom of the line folks for right now, right? And it's fine. And Komomo's still a long way from being, a big time wrestler. And I think Yuki Minami, who's re-debuting, by the way, so that could be play part of why she's getting the win over Komomo. I thought it was fine. I like when rookies debut against like top wrestlers because it's their best shot at putting something good together. But listen, there's a crop here, and then there's the golden rookie, and I'm just gonna say now, Sayri, who was introduced at this show, that's the next big thing. I'm just gonna say it now. She's already got her debut set. First stream, January 3rd, pay-per-view. That is when she's debuting. I saw that announcement. I said, "Oh, she's gonna face like Utami or Mirai or something, or Nanai or something, right? She's gonna face one of the top dogs in her first match."
To put it simply, if she follows the trend of rookies debuting against Minami Komomo's fucked.
Well, that's true too. That is very true too.
You ain't winning that one.
Yeah, but like this, Sayri is a amateur wrestler who has like success, and like the way they're talking about her, the way they're hyping her up. Fuka even said it in like her blog before she even debuted. She was like, "There's this golden rookie that's like that. She's the one." And I'm like, okay. I mean, if Fuka's saying it, I don't need to listen to anyone else. Who's the last like big time hyped rookie like this? I don't know, Tommy.
Yeah, it's been a good while since they've pushed someone so heavily. All the big names.
Like even Yuzuki. Like we didn't know going into that match.
The talk after the debut was that she's kind of the next super rookie, but ahead of time, we had no idea. But with this, there's a lot of talk. Her credentials from an amateur wrestling standpoint sound really, really strong. I saw mention that she kind of ranked really highly across Japan in amateur wrestling in a recent competition. And I noticed when I was watching the Olympics that Japan, swept the gold medals for wrestling at the Olympics. So if she's up there, if she's in the mix, then we're dealing with a serious.
She's gonna hit like a German in her first move in the match. Just gonna drop like Utami on her head or something, and I'm just gonna be like, just give her the belt now. Sorry, pack it up. I'm sorry.
It's very exciting. The fact that they've locked it in for one of their next huge shows. They've set that date. It's something to look forward to on their big show in January. I think that says a lot about their kind of hopes for Sayri moving forward. And we'll see who her opponent ends up being. I don't think the Utami thing is a bad shout. Although, as we're about to get into, the outcome of the Dreamstar Grand Prix may affect Utami Hayashi's next few months. So let's get into it. We, of course, last time out on the podcast, we ran through the names that we had confirmed. And we pretty much had all the names lined up. We knew who was qualifying from those matches. And we kind of speculated that Nori was going to get that last spot. That was, of course, confirmed when Rossi Ogawa visited the LLPW X dojo. And definitely wasn't poaching. Make that clear. He'd never do such a thing.
Needed to do that in writing. By
He's
the way,
literally never poached anyone ever.
yeah. No,
That's,
as he said, they just show up.
yeah, people just come to Rossi because they know he's cooking. But anyway, we have the full lineup and blocks confirmed for the Marigold Dreamstar Grand Prix, the first ever Dreamstar Grand Prix. We'll kick it off with the Dream League. We have the Dream League and the Star League. Those are the two official names. There was a lot of, we kind of guessed what route they'd go with the names last time out. Maybe
I like leagues.
Yeah, the leagues. I like a league instead of a block. That's a good differential. I thought maybe they go for like some kind of floral route. I don't know what they do with it, but maybe I don't know.
How many
but
more
I like
flowers
Dream
do they
of Yeah, I think they've pretty much nailed it in that sample. So we have in the Dream League, we have top of the block Utami Hayashishita, we have Mirai, we have Koki Amare, we have Natsumi Shozuki, we have Chika Goto, who is definitely one to watch in there. We have Nagisa Nozaki, one of the freelancers in the mix. We have Victoria Yuzuki, one of the two that qualified, or three that qualified, I should say, along with Chika Goto. And we have Nori representing LLPW X back in the Marigold ring after a strong performance on Marigold's first pay-per-view. A lot of people wanted it back in the mix, and they've delivered. She, of course, picked up the win in that trios match. It was always going to be, there was always more to come for Nori in Marigold ring. But from that block, the Dream League kicking it off, who are the kind of standouts you're going to be looking out for? Obviously, it's pretty strong altogether, but are there any matches you're instantly circling right away? I know there's certainly a few that I've got my eye on.
First off, that block moves me dearly.
Oh, yeah.
That is special. There's something great here. And when I look at tournaments, and I said this when we previewed the 5-star, I like to look at those Corkin dates. What do we got cooking up on those shows? Corkin number 1, they have 2 within a week, 2 in 1 week. So Corkin number 1 in this block, Tommy Hayashishita versus Mirai. You kidding me? You kidding me?
That's big.
That's for the people. And the other one, the other Corkin show, Utami versus Nori. You kidding me? That's gonna be great. I'm really excited for Natsumi Shizuki's tournament as well. I think she is someone who has like potential MVP. You like to pick out your MVPs early. Like who could be that? I may never pick a winner again after Tam, but actually no, because Rossi books, and I know how Rossi books. I could pick a winner.
We're gonna make our predictions in a brief moment, but I think.
But
a little bit safer on this.
Yeah, exactly. Those matches move me though. And obviously the Twin Towers facing off. That should be very interesting as well.
For sure. I'm looking forward to a lot of these matchups here. Like you just said, a lot of the ones you picked out. Utami and Mirai is one of the biggest matches the Marigold can put together.
I'll say this though, the match of the tournament is in the other block.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have 2 incredibly strong leagues here in the Dreamstar Grand Prix. But I'm circling Nori as someone who I think is going to get a lot more eyes on her in this. She was a huge standout in that trios match on Marigold's first pay-per-view, in the mix with the legends and the passion crew. And a lot of people weren't too familiar. A lot of people weren't too familiar with their game coming in, and she was a standout. And now she's getting the opportunity to mix it up with a lot more of the roster, and hopefully even beyond that, she's going to be.
I'll say here, they should poach her.
Yeah. You know what? I have every confidence that they will. To be honest, I've seen this. I know Rossi's game. I've seen this story before.
LLPW doesn't run like at all. They run like one show a year.
That's not a promotion. That's not a promotion that exists. That's not.
No,
this is a non-entity.
And based on one match, Nori shouldn't be doing nothing. Like. You know what the last LLPW match was? It was in May. and that is their one show. They've run 3 shows in the past 3 years total.
My God.
But listen, you don't have to post. Just let her wrestle in the promotion.
LPW they're keeping the fans waiting. They were, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think that's the whole idea behind that promotion. Maybe I can't think of any other explanation. But I'd also like to see what those contracts are like. I mean, we saw what those actress contracts were made of. Not the strongest of contracts, if any contracts at all, to be perfectly honest. So we'll see where Nori kind of stands after the Dream Star. But I think she's going to be a real highlight. Again, Chika Goto, again, always want to watch. Koki, her development is going to be interesting to see. Shozuki, I think, is a perfect pick for MVP because, again, she's not one of the bigger names in terms of the kind of main event scene of Marigold. Yeah, obviously you point to the likes of the Mariahs and the Utamis. What she is incredibly consistent, and I think night in, night out, she's gonna deliver.
Yeah.
Moving on to the second of our blocks, there's the Star League, and this one, you couldn't have a better start to the lineup. The first name,
me, man.
the first name in the Star League lineup is our red belt champion, the real red belt champion, Suri.
Arguably the only red belt champion.
The only red belt champion, perhaps. Respect Obafemi right now.
Is that belt red?
It's sort of red. It's kind of red.
Okay, sure. I didn't think it was red, so that's fine. Shout out to the big man.
I was trying to think of another red to do a bit, but I think it's
Obafemi versus Bozilla. That's what Jamie has just booked.
Yeah, I'd never say no to Obafemi. Let's get Obafemi in the Dreamstar Grand Prix. Let's get that excursion going. Let's get him in. But yes, Suri, the best wrestler in the world right now, wrestler of the year, all these things we've been saying for a while now. I think this Dreamstar Grand Prix run is only going to cement it even further. She's already so far ahead, putting her in a round robin tournament where she's going to wrestle, however many matches if she makes the finals too.
Yeah. Mayu is trying, Mayu is trying to catch up in her great 5-star so far. But by the time, if she ever comes close to catching up, Sari's then going to start a tournament. And it's like, well, good job. Happy you tried, but it's time to end that conversation. But I'll let you continue through the block, obviously.
But yeah, so it doesn't get much better than Suri kicking us off. But next up, another heavy hitter. It's our white belt champion, Miku Ano. I mean, and straight away there's a match to circle.
Yeah, you kidding me? That's the match of the tournament for me.
Yeah,
and that is indeed happening at Korakuen Hall.
I would be astounded if anything tops that. If both those show up and are on their A game, which they pretty much always are, that's a say to be one of the matches of the tournament, if not the match of the tournament, like you said. Next up, another heavy hitter. We have Bozilla in the mix. Going to be an interesting one to see her mix it up with some of the big names. Her and Suri in singles outing is incredibly interesting. We saw those two, how devastating they were as a tag team combination. And Marigold.
That's the only person each like. So Bozilla respected no one in the block except for Suri. She was like, "Yeah, shout out to Suri though. She's cool."
Yeah,
Utami, not Utami, but Suri notably doesn't respect anyone besides Nanai and Bozilla. And then she said, "I'm seeing Utami in the finals." So I was like, that means more than you'll ever know.
It's gonna be something special this tournament for Suri in particular. But yeah, that Bozilla match is definitely another one to circle. Seeing those two, Clash of the Titans there, seeing those two collide. Nanai Takahashi, like you just mentioned, is also in this block, bringing the passion to the Star League. Another wrestler who delivers every time she's given the opportunity. So seeing her, and particularly with some of the lesser experienced people in this block, as we're about to get into, I think are going to be interested to see what kind of results that they can deliver there. We have Mai Sakurai. We touched on it quite heavily earlier in the podcast. After a big singles match with Giulia at Korakuen Hall, she's got a lot of momentum. Someone who I think Marigold are going to put a lot of stock in moving forward if she can kind of keep it going from an in-ring standpoint to continue that development. She's going to be a big star, and this is kind of the best opportunity for that development. So another one. She's going to have big matches in here again, like the likes of Sari, the likes of Miko Aono. Everyone's match with Nanai Takahashi is always one that elevates them. So definitely going to be a tournament to look out for Mai Sakurai. We have Misa Matsui.
Yeah, shout out Lewis.
Shout another one of Lewis's favorites. Another one of the standouts so far from the actress crop that have come over. Someone that's gained a lot of popularity very quickly. Someone I think Marigold are going to be very high on and looking to push more and more in the future. I think definitely going to get that Superfly title at some point down the line. But she's in there with some heavy hitters, like we've said. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how she fares in the mix. We've also got Chiaki, not too far out from her own big match involving Giulia, where she of course bled for the great sport of professional wrestling. So she's riding a bit of a wave of momentum now. Her alongside Nazaki in the Dream League, a kind of our heel. Additions to these blocks in terms of kind of interference and a few foreign objects might make their way into the mix. Chiaki loves that chair. So I think there'll be a few shenanigans when Chiaki's about. Closing out the Star League is the final qualifier that made it in. It's Kazuna Tanaka, and that's a very exciting addition because much like Yuzuki, she is the future of this promotion. She's the future of professional wrestling, frankly, altogether, along with Yuzuki. So seeing her get in the mix with those heavy hitters, like we mentioned, like Kazuna Tanaka mixing it up with Suri and Miku Aono and Nanai is going to do incredible things for her development at this stage. So I think to close out on the blocks, I'll let you kind of take it away in a second. I think that's the perfect lineup to kick this thing off for the first ever Dreamstar Grand Prix, and I'm incredibly excited. What are your thoughts overall on that lineup before we get into our official predictions?
Lineup's brilliant. I think when Sari was announced for the tournament, everyone just thought like, okay, what top match are we gonna get? Are we gonna get the Miku Aono match? Are we gonna get the Mirai match? Or are we gonna get the Utami match? And we got the Miku Aono match, keeping Mirai and Utami away from her. I think that's very notable, considering she is the world champion. Obviously, like, this is a big term for Bozilla to keep improving. And, I think, like, I look at these names, I'm like, okay, these are the perfect names to put with those top three, right? Sari, Miku, and Nanai, because those three are going to help guide them, right? You're going to have, and Misa Matsui versus Nanai's, the passion injection match they did earlier this year, that's one of the best passion injection matches we've done, between that one and the Ida one from Stardom last year. So I'm really excited for that. I don't know how you look at this tournament and not love it. And, I think those top four are going to be the ones in contention to win this block, as you'd expect, right? The two champs plus Nanai and Bozilla. I love, one of the young guns to sneak up on us, but I don't think that's going to be the case. That being said, I can't wait for this tournament.
Absolutely. It's going to be one to watch. I'm going to be tapped in to every single one of these shows. I love that they've gone for a two blocks or two leagues. As much as there's been some great matches.
Yeah, none of that 4 block stuff.
Did you hear Sonny say that on the show, on the Korean show?
Big pop. I was like, that's true. I mean, honestly, I've always liked 2 blocks better than like when they changed the G1 to the 3 and the 4. I was like, this sucks. Like, I just don't like. You're limiting so many wrestlers, I think, by having the best matches. And like, I don't know, I don't need 28 wrestlers in a tournament.
Yeah, it's like like I mentioned, there's been some great matches in the 5-star this year. But you compare, to previous years, and then in particular, you look at the G1, the difference in this year compared to last year. It's very evident that a two block format is the best way to go for these round robin tournaments. So I'm very thankful that Marigold have gone in that direction. And looking at those lineups, I think it's going to be absolute killer. Official predictions. I think it's time for to lock in one name. Lock in one name for sure. That we're going to stick with. Obviously, our 5-star prediction went to shit a little bit. Although
this
she is
my
getting
redemption
the title match anyway, so
this is my redemption moment. You know, see with when you look at two blocks, you can look at the final day and you can piece things together a lot easier, right? So you got on the Star League, you got Sari versus Bozilla. You kidding me? Mikuano versus Nanai Takahashi. You kidding me? And, I look at those two. I'm like, okay, that we're deciding it that day. But I think the winner's coming from the Dream League. I think you separate two specific wrestlers from Sari for leaving, those wrestlers being Utami Hayashishita and Mirai. And Mirai's got a matchup with Nagisa Nozaki, right? The heel of the block, while Utami faces Koki on the final day. And Koki's gonna be pretty protected in that block, so she might be in the running come that final day. But here's my pick. I'm locking it in. Write it down. Maybe don't write it down based on the tan one, but maybe write it in pencil, just so we can erase it just in case. I'm gonna go bold here. I am not picking Utami Hayashishita. I know. I'm not picking the favorite. I got screwed picking the favorite already. All right. I got screwed with the 5-star. I'm picking Mirai to win the whole thing. I think with Mirai, she is someone that they obviously really, really love. And I think she has kind of made strides to really develop as an overall competitor since leaving for Marigold. Like I said, I think it's coming down to Tommy and Mirai. I don't want to go chalk. I feel like Utami's chalk. I feel like Utami's probably the best option as well. But this is Rossi. Rossi likes to change things up sometimes. He likes to get in his bag, and he's like, maybe he thinks Utami's already made, right? Maybe he thinks Utami doesn't need to win the tournament to eventually win the Marigold World Championship, right? You could see Mirai win and then lose the title match against Sari. I think that's very possible, especially considering how many times we've seen the 5-star winner lose their title match. So I'm going to go with Mirai. Do I feel great about it? Not necessarily, because it's been tough picking these days. But, she has the story with Sari, as does Utami. I know Sari wants that Utami match. I feel like that could be the long-term goal. But for now, I'll go with the I forget what her nickname is. It's like the Soul something. But she likes Soul.
Is it the child of soul or something?
Yes,
yeah, that's the one.
Yes, the child of soul, or the soul child, or something like that. I liked calling her the it was like the soul fighter. I liked that. I liked calling her the soul fighter. But I'm gonna go with Mirai, and I think I know who you're gonna go with. I don't want us to both be wrong, like just in case.
Yeah, so I appreciate you not going with the favorites, because I was definitely leaning towards Utami Hayashishita, but I'm having second thoughts. Second thoughts stem from Sari is so protected, and she's going to be in there, and if she's going to make the finals, which I think is a very likely possibility, are they going to run that Utami match and then have the red belt match as well, or are they going to protect that match? In which case, does someone beat Sari in the finals, or does Sari not make the finals? In which case, I then think Bozilla is in play. So I think Bozilla might be in the mix. However, if Bozilla is in the mix, then I do think Utami might beat her. So I think I'm gonna play it safe. I'm not gonna be as bold as you are. I like that you went bold, and I would not be against Mirai taking it. Particularly if she's going to lose that title match and then we get the Utami match down the line anyway.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to play it safe and say Utami Hayashishita for the first ever Dreamstar Grand Prix win. I think that's the safe one. I think definitely Mirai's an option. I think Bozilla is going to be in the mix, especially if she's able to be out in that block. There's a few other people that could sneak in there, but I think Utami is the safest option, and I think that's where we're gonna go with it.
Mirai's got a pretty good tournament record when booked by Rossi. I'm just saying.
Yeah, he loves
got 2 wins.
The Mirai tournament win, notoriously. So I'd never rule that out.
I think that's the beauty of this tournament. It's not Like Utami feels like the obvious, but I don't think it's like a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Tam was, so who am I to say? But
Yeah.
I think that's the fun of this. Like I could see Bozilla win. Hell, I could see Nanai win. One last run
Yeah.
for the passion. One last passion run. Are you kidding me?
I'd never say no. I'd never say no
And
to one last run.
I wouldn't even rule out Surrey winning.
Yeah, it's you can't really bet.
You could see Surrey beat Mirai or someone in the final, and then maybe call out Utami, something like that. That's my lowest option, but it's gonna be tough to keep Surrey out of the final, right? They're gonna have to get creative. How many draws is she gonna have? Like,
For sure.
she might have one loss, maybe maybe in the night to set up a title match before first stream. But I think that's the beauty of it, and I think Utami's obviously a great pick. I'm sure 6-star, but if 6-star wasn't fired, would have picked Utami.
Yeah.
But, tough.
Yeah, I guess we'll never know.
Yeah, and I guess my other thought is I think Koki upsetting Utami on that last day is very Rossi booking.
Oh yeah, that would be huge. Huge win for Koki. Would definitely.
It's like when Ami Sourei beat Shuri once upon a time, which was a choice. Or it's if you look through the history of Rossi bookings, there's always like that one young star that he believes in that gets that big win over ace like figure. So I mean, he beat Mayu how many years? It's like,
yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. I can't wait for this tournament. And it's just weekends, I think, except for the Cork, it's maybe. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Dreamstar Grand Prix gets underway on August 31st. I like that they scheduled it right as the 5-star finishes. They waited until most of the tournament season had kind of wrapped up. Obviously, the G1s come to an end. 5-star will be wrapped up on the same day.
I'm pretty sure if you watch that show the day of, you can watch the full Marigold show before the start of one even starts.
Oh, God bless. That's it. If you're someone who's a completionist and wants to watch all of it, then they've set it out in the best possible way.
Well, no, I lied. I totally lied. There's 2 shows on day one. I completely lied. So you can watch the day show before the 5-star starts. The night show, not so much. Sorry.
Oh, there we go. There goes that. There goes me thinking that the 2 sides were playing nice and not counter programming each other. No. No. Yeah, we got opening shows on the same day as the closing night, the 5-star. That's as real as it gets anyway. So I'm looking forward to it all. I believe the final is on September 28th. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that's the date that the Dreamstar wraps up, September 28th. So we've got the whole month of September mapped out with the Dreamstar Grand Prix. Nagoya. Oh, brother.
I'm rolling Jungle Kiona out there to give the crown to whoever. Just get the crown pumped. Jungle, we need you. Hear me out here. I think Rossi should make it someone's gimmick to be from Nagoya. Like, I'm looking at Seiria and be like, listen, you're not from Nagoya, but for the love of the game, you are now. Okay?
Yeah.
You are now. I want the crowd to love you.
Yeah, they got to get scouting in Nagoya. They got to set up a training camp in Nagoya. They got to. we need a talent factory in Nagoya. We need some homegrown.
Hopefully, people travel. Hopefully, some people travel for the finals because
the big draw. There's gonna be some huge matches there. The final, history made, the first ever.
Yeah. I will fight Nagoya if not. Just say.
Yeah, yeah, we got to never go back there again. if they stink it up on September 28th. But anyway, one super chat I want to get to before we wrap up on Marigold, and then we have one kind of brief pitch stop before we close out. Andrew, and again another super chat, $4.99. Thank you very much as always. Am I going to be the bad guy when I start comparing attendances when Giulia debuts in WWE? You may be, Andrew. I don't feel strongly about Giulia, but Monet fans are being weird. Well, Mercedes Monet fans, that's a dangerous entity to get yourself involved with, Andrew.
I wouldn't fight the crew.
I'm very sorry to hear that you've come on the receiving end of the wrath of the crew. That's a position I would not envy anyone.
That's not a game I'd try to play.
Yeah, Giulia's got some shooters, but the crew's different. I don't think that's a fight anyone wants to get involved with. So I'd advise you to kind of stay out of that lane for the time being.
I do
Maybe
like
if
the idea of
Giulia's
you comparing like NXT crowds to AEW crowds, so that's kind of entertaining.
Yeah, yeah, see how many, we gotta when she hits the main roster, then maybe you can start playing around with a few things. You can start being like, look at how many fans are like behind the camera, and you can start doing dunks and stuff like that. But I say temper it for now. You know what I mean? Wait, there's the players, you hold on to that and you wait. We talked about the track record of that New Japan Strong Women's belt. Mercedes might well be in WWE by the time that rolls around. So I'd hold on. I'd hold on for a minute, brother. It ain't over yet.
I can
But
name
no,
like
I'd expect it, man.
75 interviewers that would be really happy with that.
Yeah. I wouldn't get involved with the crew. Um, right now. But I appreciate the super chat as always, Andrew. Thank you very much. That just about does it for Marigold. We have one final brief thing I want to get to before we get to our closing segment of the show. Very briefly, I want to talk about All Japan Pro Wrestling. We have not done that yet on the Gold Star podcast. I don't think we're going to do it too much, but it depends how noteworthy their shows are. But there was something very noteworthy on one of their most recent shows. There was a title change. The Triple Crown Heavyweight Championship, of course, previously held by Yuma Anzai, All Japan's super rookie, one of the most exciting talents in the world of pro wrestling right now, and someone that they got behind kind of after Nakajima's whole ordeal. They kind of went with Yuma Anzai and stuck with him. He dropped the title to another Yuma Aoyagi. It was a pretty solid match. It was very slow to begin with, and I think Aoyagi hasn't had the strongest of 2024. I think when you kind of look at the whole Nakajima situation and how that played out in All Japan, he was probably the one who suffered the most from that whole saga of All Japan. But they decided to go with him and end Anzai's reign. I think Anzai is a made man in All Japan. The fact that they went with him so early into his progression obviously showed a ton of potential. So it was more than deserving that he got that run. But I love when promotions pick a guy and stick with him. And I think their effort that they've put into Anzai is going to pay off. That he's going to be a guy that's going to be a huge star for them moving forward. But the title's back on Aoyagi. I believe he has Kento Miyahara coming up around the corner, which is never a guarantee for anyone in a title match. Taking on Kento Miyahara, in my opinion, one of the best in the world. So
he's had a quiet year this year.
He has. I think All Japan in general have had a quiet. They haven't had they were in a lot of people's promotion of the year talks last year.
Well, they bring in the NXT Ace to start off the year, and it's just
Charlie Dempsey. It's all been downhill from there. You don't get much better than the Ace of NXT. You gotta. Sometimes you gotta save those things for when you really need it. They peaked too early.
They went into their bag. They could have waited. Now
Yeah.
Look, right. Like Noah got AJ Styles. You could have waited. You could have got something more than big man Dempsey. But
yeah, I think I don't know, the Nakajima Connect and maybe more on the WWE side of things, the Simon and Oki connection, I think has dissolved a little bit. So I don't know how much more of the WWE bag we're going to see from All Japan. But going back to Aoyagi's an interesting one. Scott, did you manage to catch this one?
I did not yet. I've been very behind on wrestling. That's next up on the queue, though. Unless you're telling me it was slow, then it's like you're trying to tell me it was not worth watching.
It was a slow start. It got really good at the end. It got really. Okay. It's one I'd check out. I'd check it out.
All right.
It's worth a watch. Like I said,
it's on the sheet. It's on the sheet. So yeah, this weekend just got so much wrestling. Like we got 2 Stardom shows, 2 Marigold shows. This thing called All In. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Maybe a few people mention it here and there.
Yeah, kind of gonna watch that. This other stuff, I'm sure that I'm not thinking of. I gotta watch Arisa Nakajima's retirement today. Gotta cry a little, So
yeah, you'll get it right. It's been one of the summer in Japan's always one of the busiest times of the year, tournament season. So of course, if you're keeping up with all things, Stardom and G1, it's a very busy time. And of course, now we've got the Dream Star coming up too, so it's going to get even busier. But that closes out our updates. In terms of all things we've got to touch on, New Japan, Stardom, Marigold, and a little bit of All Japan for you today. Of course, we have one final segment before we bring the show to a close. As we debuted on the first ever episode, stealing intellectual property is my favorite thing to do. This is not Beast of the Week. This is the Gold Star Grapplers of the Week. Second ever lineup of Gold Star Grapplers. And kicking it off, we'll go in the same order as we did for the first show. We'll kind of stick to that if possible. And I know that I revealed to you at the start of this show that we relieved 6-star of their duties. 6-star's been fired, never to return, perhaps, for impersonating Mystico and being uncovered via VAR footage. 6-star did send in the Gold Star Grappler for this week. And it is none other than a personal favourite and a big favourite overall of the Gold Star lineup. It's Chika Goto for a big performance in that Marigold Korakuen tag team match. Of course, teaming with Nanai Takahashi taking on Arisa Nakajima and Suri, as we mentioned earlier in the show. One of the standouts in Marigold so far and absolutely delivered in a big.
I like to think if 6 was here, 6 would have been the Kochika.
Yeah. We 6-star. You know, I'll discuss with the Rest of Pure board of directors about what to do with 6-star next. You know, there's a big decision to be made. Of course, major contract violations were uncovered on the first episode, but you know, you do bring up a good point. 6-star brings that energy. That's just unmatched. We've seen the bits that 6-star brought to the table in the first episode. So we'll consider it. We'll consider bringing 6 back. If the people demand it, I may have to concede on this issue. But Chika Goto, the first of this week's Gold Star Grapplers. Scott, you're next up. Take it away.
Yeah, it was a tough choice. My original choice became the collective choice. Mm-hmm. So, you know, have to fight the man on this one. The man being the whole team. Tough. So I went through my feed. I was like, who stood out this week in the world of pro wrestling for me that, you know, deserves the title of Gold Star Grappler. And, you know, I decided that after her performance in the Marigold main event this past week. And no, I am not talking about Giulia. I am talking about one, Mai Sakurai, as my Gold Star Grappler of the week. The performance was out of this world. When you put on a career best performance, you have nothing but my respect, especially in a match that, you know, isn't technically about you, but the person that's leaving, and you're able to steal the show and put on such a performance. You get that star. And listen, she has a title defense tomorrow, defending those tag belts for the first time, those twin star belts. She's just going to help the stock. The stock's just going to keep rising for my Gold Star Grappler, so I'm picking Mai Sakurai.
Absolutely. I love that pick. You're absolutely right about the stock rising. Yeah, we talked about her stock rising in a singles you know, capacity. But in that tag setting, we've already seen you know, how great she can be. And I think in there with Mariah again, she's going to deliver once more. I'm last up before we get to the collective. My dream Gold Star Grappler of the week. Nearly botched my own gimmick. Close out the show. My Gold Star Grappler of this week. I had some tough decisions. There were a few names that have already been picked that I was in consideration with, and obviously the collective we're going to get to was one that all three were considering on the show, and that's why they've took the collective. I think I'm going to go with the winner of this year's G1 Climax 34, and of course I did not want this man to win the G1 Climax. I was rooting for his opponent. However, I was willing to hear him out, and now that he's laid out his plans. I'm listening. I can see it. I can feel it. He's cooking. He's putting it together. Zack Sabre Jr. is my Gold Star Grappler of this week for winning the G1 Climax. He will, of course, as we mentioned earlier in this show, now head to King of Pro Wrestling, where he's going to take on Tetsuya Naito for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship, or Great-O-Khan, who, of course, was a big standout in the G1 in his own right. So never rule out Great-O-Khan could make his way into Tokyo Dome contention for sure. But obviously after that, he may, of course, head to Royal Quest as IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. So a big week for Zack Sabre Jr. I would love him to cap off the week by appearing in Wembley Stadium, perhaps. I'm thinking of one particular spot where he could appear, and that would be the Casino Gauntlet. If there's ever going to be a time, because I think it's mad. I think it's absolutely crazy that AEW now have run 2 shows at Wembley Stadium, and they have a partnership with New Japan Pro Wrestling. And Zack Sabre Jr. has not made the card, so
he's been there in town both times too. That's the best part. He's literally there the day before wrestling.
They've got to find a way to get him on this show. I mean, I know we're not far out now, but they've got the gauntlet. There's going to be surprises in the gauntlet.
The big man, Bobby Lashley.
Bob Lash. Well, see, now I'm unsure about Bobby Lashley in the gauntlet because I think we might get a certain Ricochet in the gauntlet.
Who wants him? Yeah, I'm here for Big Bash, Big Bob.
Yeah, the real sign we're all waiting for is Bob Lash, but I don't think they're going to debut both in the same match. But I think we might get other surprises, and I think Zach could be the one. But anyway, he's my Gold Star Grappler for this week, your G1 Climax 34 winner. And that completes the lineup of our 3 picks. But now it's time to close out the show with our collective pick. We've mentioned it throughout the podcast. We've touched on, of course, during the Marigold portion of the show. But we saved the best till last. Scott, I'm going to let you take it away and reveal our collective Gold Star Grappler. And I think it's the perfect choice this week.
Yeah, this is the easiest pick, I think. If we ever got to someday a Gold Star Hall of Fame, she'd be right at the top of the list in my nominations. But this was an easy pick. Our collective Gold Star Grappler of the week is one Arisa Nakajima, who of course retired today from pro wrestling. I've only heard amazing things about her final match there, where she got to team with Tsukasa Fujimoto one final time against Hiroyo Matsumoto and Hanako Nakamori, 2 of her great rivals, I think, and partners. I think Arisa Nakajima embodies what Joshi wrestling is at its core. I think she embodies what, I think she really does embody someone retiring at the height of their power, at the height of their greatness. She is still so good. She has clearly been dealing with a bad neck for the past 6 months or so. She got injured early in the year and she made the announcement she had to retire essentially, but she's gone out there and put on some classics along the way. And after her performance in Marigold this week, as she wraps up her career, we here at the Gold Star appreciate and salute and wish Arisa Nakajima the best retirement. She is the second ever Gold Star Grappler of the week.
Perfect choice. Absolutely love that choice. It couldn't have possibly been anyone else this week. Arisa Nakajima bringing a legendary career to a close. I love that you pointed out earlier in the show. I think you made a great point about the type of wrestler Arisa Nakajima is, and the kind of that kind of archetype. And I think we're definitely seeing less and less of that. It's a generation thing. We're seeing it across the board internationally, in both genders too. You see the kind of crops of rookies that are popping up. So sometimes they lack the certain intensity and just that thing that made some of the older guys a little, special. And you still see those names performing to the highest level today. And Arisa Nakajima is definitely in that mix. She's been one of the best in the world for as long as I can remember now. And it's been great to see her kind of bring her career to an end in this way. Because sometimes, wrestlers don't get to go out kind of on their own terms. You see careers come to an end, brought short due to injury. And of course, she's had their fair share of injury issues. But she was able to kind of go down this retirement road and get some of those last matches in. That match in Marigold, where she got to mix it with the Nai one last time. And of course, today in Seedling, I haven't been able to catch it yet, but it sounded like a really special match and moment. So yeah, she's absolutely worthy of being the second collective Gold Star grappler of the week. I like the. He also raised the point about potential Hall of Fame at some point down the line. Again, perhaps intellectual property theft from Dumb Guy Live that we may get to down the line. I think we're a little early in the development of this show, but we'll get to it, and she'll be penciled in for sure as a first ballot.
We'll just call it the Golden Hall.
The Golden Hall. I like it. Let's. I'm gonna
no
trademark
one
that
will
one
ever
after
know.
the show, and we're gonna get some things set up. But absolutely. Again, Nakajima, I think also someone who slid under the radar a little bit. Like you don't see her mentioned as much in the conversations that I think she should be mentioned in. And I think it's obviously a big part of that is the fact that she's wrestled in promotions that don't have the most eyes on her at all times. You know, she's best known, of course, you know, in that kind of last stage of her run for her work in Seedling, not, you know, the most popular promotion by any means. You know, it's not a Stardom or things like this. But whenever she's on the big stage to kind of show, she always delivers. And you know, more often than not, she breaks out of the kind of bubble that Seedling's into. So yeah, more than deserving pick for the Gold Star Grappler this week. Arisa Nakajima, a legend of the game, and that brings episode 2 of the Gold Star podcast to a close. Thank you everyone for sticking with myself and Scott, the 2-man podcast today. Like I said, we'll speak with the disciplinary committee about 6 Stars actions. And you know, we'll keep you updated on the status of the podcast moving forward. Any plugs before we bring this home for the next week or so, Scott?
Yeah, youtube.com/@ScottEWrestling. You can check out my daily 5-star Grand Prix reviews. After this, I'm getting up day 8. So if you want to hear about the day that followed Micah versus Suzuki, Mayu Iwatani versus Mei Sarah, Tam versus Tomoki Inaba, that's where you can go. I'll also be doing the same thing for the Marigold tournament, Dream Star Grand Prix. So go hit that subscribe button if you're interested in hearing daily reviews for each tournament. And otherwise, yeah, I'm looking forward to another episode of this in the near future. Maybe we'll have 6 Star back. Maybe the committee will side with 6 instead of Jamie. We'll see.
Yeah,
you know,
reinstated perhaps. We'll keep people updated.
It's tough. It's tough when you make us believe Mystico joins the show and, you know, potentially rip that away from us. It's, you know, I've been on a high since that moment, right? Like,
yeah,
and learning that 6 Star might have lied to us.
It's devastating. It breaks the trust that I thought we had with our audience. You know, it wasn't a great moment for the first episode of the podcast, but thankfully we were able to make it out of the pilot stage and return for an episode 2. We thank everyone who stuck with us and watched the show. I don't have too many plugs myself. I will be heading to AEW All In this Sunday, so you know, if you see me, I'll sign any autographs for £25. No, but yeah, do say hello if you see me. I'll probably be wearing this Wrestle Purist hoodie on brand as always. Other than that, though, if you're still here, make sure, and you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the Wrestle Purist YouTube channel. Make sure you like the video, and perhaps most importantly, after the video, this podcast is over, please do drop a comment. It helps the algorithm a lot. If we can give them a prompt. Do you have any prompts to come to mind, Sky? First of all, give us your predictions for the Dream Star Grand Prix. That's probably the biggest one. We have the blocks lined up.
Give us your brand new predictions for both the 5 Star and the Dream Star.
Yeah, if you were rocking with Tam Nakano, we need your new predictions or any updated predictions there. Let us know your thoughts on any of the matches we touched on, the G1 final.
A shoulder shrug works, by the way. If you just have a shoulder shrug for the 5 Star, that's fine too.
Anything. If you want to comment on, I don't know, the way my hair is looking today. If you want to comment on, you know, anything. If you want to make an appeal to the committee about 6 Star, you let us know in the comments. Absolutely. I'll take a look at those. I'll probably like all those, and we'll get some. You know, we'll get that engagement. But anyway. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us for the second episode of the Gold Star podcast. We'll be back potentially soon. Not sure about next week with the lineup, but we may be back as soon as possible. We'll definitely be touching on all things 5 Stars. That concludes, and we'll keep you updated on the Dream Star Grand Prix. Again, that does it for me, Jamie Ross, Wrestle Purist. Follow me down here on Twitter. For Scott and myself, maybe for 6. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.